ancient beast realm. Perhaps because it was too far from spirit realm and remote, the invasion of foreign races did not affect this place. However, the 4 beast kings of the ancient beast race constantly paid attention to news and did not dare relax. They worriedly greatly for spirit realm's present situation. They feared that if they missed important news, the ancient beast race would be forced into reacting. "We are lucky," Heavenly Blue Snake King said to Crimson Blood Ape King. "The giant race is far from spirit realm, but because there are many places with spatial chaos near giant spirit realm, foreign experts could easily enter. Based on the previous news, if not for Qianlai, those giants might have been sent to unknown regions, forever turned into slaves. The Wood race, the Azura race, the Yuxia race, the Black Jail race, these races near spirit realm have all encountered trouble to some degree. The world is in chaos. We will also encounter similar things in the future." Crimson Blood Ape King sighed and said, "The Outer Realms experts will one day come to Ancient Beast Realm after dealing with others." "Yes, they will," Heavenly Blue Snake King replied, hopeless. As they spoke, Nine-Tailed Fox King suddenly landed from the sky, her eyes filled with excitement. "What news can make you so happy?" Heavenly Blue Snake King asked curiously. Pei Dahong announced to the races of Spirit Realm Ninth Heaven, will return all the lands they have taken from the Qin family. Nine-Tailed Fox King excitedly said. "The 6 forces will return the ancient beast race's lands to us." Also, Ninth Heaven told the races that they will leave Spirit Realm after the chaos of Spirit Realm settles, and will not step into Spirit Realm for 3 centuries. Ah! Heavenly Blue Snake King and Crimson Blood Ape King were stunned. Pei Dahong has surrendered? Crimson Blood Ape King was shocked. Leave Spirit Realm for 3 centuries. Return everything. What else is this but surrender? Heavenly Blue Snake King said. But they did not seem to have had a fight? Crimson Blood Ape King was confused. There must be some circumstances we are not aware of. However, Ninth Heaven's attitude proves that Sky-Bearing City has the upper hand in their fight against the 6 forces. Heavenly Blue Snake King said. "We can return to our lands," Nine-Tailed Fox King said excitedly. At the same time, the Wood race, the Black Jail race, the Fleeing Azura race, the Sea race, and the Silver Rank forces in various regions of Spirit Realm all learned of Pei Dahong's announcement through different channels. Spirit Realm exploded. They did not know the details, but Ninth Heaven's surrender meant that the Qin family held the upper hand against the 6 forces. Soon, they learned Starry Hall and the Ao family had announced they would return the lands they had taken from Skymender Palace and the Ji family, and were willing to pay reparations. Starry Hall and the Ao family's subsequent announcements told everyone they had completely lost. After all, it was the losing side that would pay reparations. The battle between Sky-Bearing City and the 6 forces was the focus of the races of Spirit Realm and could affect their most immediate future. Under the eyes of all the Spirit Realm's races, the 6 forces, not having fought with Qin family openly yet, surrendered. Many people were puzzled by this outcome. They speculated that maybe the recent chaos that occurred in the 6 forces reached an uncontrollable degree and the 6 forces had to compromise. They had learned some news about the soul race running amok among the 6 forces and knew Spirit Realm was not at peace. But they did not know the compromise of the 6 forces was due to Qianlai alone. Ninth Heaven. Miao Yitzi, who had come with Qianlai, held a jade pendant in her hand. The jade pendant was swirling with light as though it was passing messages constantly. Miao Yitzi could not stop her smile from appearing. After a while, she glanced at Ji Yuan next to her. The 2 beautiful women with different temperaments exchanged smiles. "How is it?" Skymender Palace's Hua Anyang asked urgently. Ji Yuan looked at the dispirited Pei Dahong, and then nodded at Hua Anyang, saying, "Yes." Qianlai opened his eyes slowly and looked at Miao Yitzi. Miao Yitzi nodded gently. Qianlai smiled and then looked again at Pei Dahong and the others. He said, "Glad you admitted defeat." Pei Dahong and the others wore ugly expressions. They wisely did not respond to avoid drawing further scorn. Seeing those old men become mute, Qianlai snorted and did not continue. He immediately used soul secret arts to activate the soul-suppressing orb. The best way to fully exert the power of the soul-suppressing orb was to use the rank 10 subsoul to control it. But right now, his dark soul beast avatar was in giant spirit realm absorbing the remnant souls of the night ghosts, and had to spend effort enslaving the 5 rank 10 experts of the night ghosts to ensure blood soul beasts breakthrough. This meant his 2 subsouls could not manipulate the soul-suppressing orb. Fortunately, that rank 10 subsoul had absorbed a lot of pure soul power using soul burial, and his main soul had benefited greatly. His main soul power had a wider range when using his soul-sensing art. Waves of strange soul vibrations came from his body and stretched outwards. Any person who reached the Genesis realm could feel the secret soul-sensing art from his body. Closing his eyes, Qianlai's soul consciousness sank into the inner world of the soul-suppressing orb. As the soul-sensing art spread, the gray world of the soul-suppressing orb suddenly had flashing stars. Those stars represented living souls. His soul-sensing art spread outwards with ninth heaven as the center. The surviving martial practitioners, beasts, small worms, and other beings with souls were within his soul consciousness. Boom! In the north, his soul felt a savage soul consciousness erupt from a cold valley. Qianlai shook and immediately exited the soul-sensing art. He stood up abruptly. North, a cold mountain valley, he shouted. Heavenly Yin Valley. Peidahong suddenly rose. Before Qianlai could say more, his eyes flashed savagely. He immediately summoned his 9-level soul altar, and he flew on his soul altar towards the place Qianlai pointed. Hongju, Ao Changsheng, and the others also flew over on their soul altar with killing intent. Why do they believe me? Qianlai was shocked. They believe the Ice Emperor would not lie to them. Miao Yitzi explained softly. Everyone, let's go. Ice Emperor spoke. The experts of Sky Mender Palace and the Ji family released their soul altars with solemn expressions. The experts drove their soul altars and flew across the sky of ninth heaven, toward the north. Flame soul altar, with soul altar, ice soul altar, thunder soul altar. The soul altars that only peak martial practitioners could have were like clouds of fire, glittering pieces of ice, and crisscrossing lightning, a different expert sitting or standing atop each. Heavens! 9-level flame soul altar. A dozen flying soul altars. All of them around 7 levels. This should be the strongest human force? The 6 forces and sky-bearing cities Qin family, the Ji family, and Sky Mender Palace allied together? It must be so. Within ninth heaven, some of the vassals who had not left yet were shocked when they saw the phenomenon in the sky. Most of these martial practitioners belonged to ninth heaven's subordinate forces. They completely lost confidence in ninth heaven after learned ninth heaven had fallen and the Pei family was killed off. They were retreating out of ninth heaven at the moment. During their journey, some of them felt the terrifying auras in the sky, looked up, and were stunned. The world is going to change. So many experts gathered together. Something major must be occurring. They should be attacking the 2 soul race clansmen. They quickly understood. Then they spread what they had seen through different channels. Soon, the human forces still active in spirit realm learned of the major movement in ninth heaven. Before Qianlai's group reached Heavenly Yin Valley, the news they were attacking the soul race clansmen spread. Oh no! Miao Yitzi suddenly frowned as her finger remained on the jade pendant. What is it? Qianlai, who had not released her soul altar and was moving with Blitz Thunder Escape, looked over at her curiously. Peidahong and the others are too attention-catching. Many martial practitioners inside ninth heaven saw their furious sprint. Miao Yitzi cursed lowly and said angrily, "Those that guessed their intentions have spread the news. Even Sky-Bearing City knows our movements right now. Since Sky-Bearing City knows, then the 2 soul race clansmen hiding in Heavenly Yin Valley surely know it too." They should, yes, Jiao said. There is no way, Ji Yuan said helplessly. The Pei family has been killed. The Ao family and Lu family have suffered great losses. They have searched for the 2 soul race clansmen for so long, and haven't had any developments. It is logical that they are so impatient after learning the location. I just fear the soul race clansmen will have disappeared by the time we get there. Ji Yao sighed. They were Void Realm and still a ways off from Genesis Realm. They were not as fast as Pei Dehong, the Ice Emperor Jidan, and others of that level in their flight speed, so they were left behind. You worry too much, Qinlai said coolly. Oh, how so? Ji Yao said curiously. Because the moment I found them, they knew what I was doing, Qinlai explained. With my cultivation and strength, even with the relic of the soul race, I cannot silently locate their souls. In other words, the moment I detected them, they knew that I would come. Then, Ji Yuan said helplessly. Qinlai frowned slightly and said, they did not leave Heavenly Yin Valley. You mean, they know what we want to do and did not flee from Heavenly Yin Valley? Are they waiting for us? Ji Yuan was shocked. Wait a moment. Miao Yitzi frowned and said, I feel I should notify them. He used a secret art to notify Chen Lin at the front. Chen Lin, who had a 7-level soul altar, immediately told the Ice Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and Jidan. They passed it along. Several seconds later, all the old Genesis Realm monsters at the front knew. They slowed down, Miao Yitzi said. Qinlai looked ahead and saw those bright soul altars were slowly down until they completely stopped. Even the most impatient Pei Dehong, Lu Zhang, and Ao Changxing stopped. Those people all stared heatedly at him. Miao Yitzi, Ji Yao, and the others who came with him subconsciously slowed. Qinlai flashed among those soul altars like a bolt of lightning and appeared. They are in Heavenly Yin Valley, and they know we are coming but have not left, Qinlai said straightforwardly. Slightly strange, muttered the Flame Emperor, rubbing his messy hair. The Ice Emperor thought for a moment and said, we have not been active in Spirit Realm for a long time. Is there something special about Heavenly Yin Valley? Heavenly Yin Valley special. Hongju had a puzzled expression. Yet at the words, he seemed to think of something and his expression abruptly changed. He looked towards Pei Dehong and the others. Pei Dehong, Lu Zhang, Ao Changxing, and the other Genesis Realm old monsters of the 6 forces all had unnatural expressions. Qinlai stilled and saw something from the changes in their expressions. The Ice Emperor shouted, what is it? There is a place that may be connected to the profound Nether Sea of Nether Realm, Pei Dehong said. Profound Nether Sea. The Ice Emperor was shocked. He seemed to think of something and glared angrily at Pei Dehong. You used Heavenly Yin Valley to make a passageway connecting to profound Nether Sea? What did you want to use profound Nether Sea for? Pei Dehong mumbled indistinctly. What is going on? Qinlai was shocked. Young Master, the profound Nether Sea and 9 Soul Hell are the 2 most unique places of Nether Realm. In the legends, profound Nether Sea is the residence of souls, not just the souls of the 9 Soul Hell races. Chen Lin bowed slightly and explained. Supposedly, all the souls of Spirit Realm's races would merge into profound Nether Sea after they pass away or die in battle. Then, through the strange reincarnation refinement of profound Nether Sea, the new lives of the races of Spirit Realm would awaken new souls. I heard one day that if the profound Nether Sea did not exist, the races of Spirit Realm would not have any more newborns. And even if they had, the newborns would have no souls. Of course, this is just a legend, and I cannot attest to its veracity. The Ice Emperor's expression was icy as he stared at Pei Dehong and said, what did you do? My big brother cultivated reincarnation power and attempted to use the profound Nether Sea to change the reincarnation laws of Spirit Realm. He wanted to take out the souls of fallen experts from the profound Nether Sea. Zhu Yang of Reincarnation sect suddenly answered. But he failed. My brother did not return after falling into the profound Nether Sea. You are mad, the Ice Emperor shouted. Young Master, have the Soul Race clansmen done something through the profound Nether Sea? Chen Lin asked. I do not know, I need to think. Qinlai closed his eyes. The profound Nether Sea and the 9 Soul Hell were restricted lands of Nether Realm and supposedly the places with the densest energy as well as hiding great secrets. One reason that the Dark Nether race could become the royal race of Nether Realm was because once upon a time, a Dark Nether race clansman managed to connect their power with profound Nether Sea after their bloodline awakening. That person became the patriarch of the Dark Nether race, and transformed into a demon god when his blood reached rank 10. The so-called demon god, in Qianlai's present knowledge, was none other than a great lord of the abyss. Bloodline reaching rank 10 and transforming into a demon god was to completely activate the abyss devil race blood within. That dark nether race clansman became the demon god, and the small dark nether race became the royal race of nether realm. He was once recognized as the strongest of nether realm. The rumors said his strength was connected with the profound in nether sea. Profound in nether sea, the residence of phantoms, Qianlai thought. He knew only martial practitioners who reached the imperishable realm would still exist without their bodies after creating their soul altars. The soul altar could make sure the soul was safe after a martial practitioner's body had been destroyed. Yet martial practitioners below the imperishable realm would not have a medium carrying their soul and would slowly dissipate after their physical body was destroyed. Souls of mortals who did not know how to cultivate would dissipate even faster after death. The dissipated phantoms would return to the world, flow into the profound in nether sea, and go through the reincarnation refinement of the profound in nether sea to become newborn souls. This was a natural cycle. The profound in nether sea was the most important part of the cycle. If the profound in nether sea was damaged, the life cycle for spirit realm would be in chaos. Did the soul race have secret arts to damage or use the profound in nether sea? Qianlai searched for all hidden methods from the vast memories of the two soul race subsouls. His two subsouls would naturally awaken secret histories of the soul race as their soul line changed. Many secret soul arts, secrets of the soul and the structure of the soul race would become a part of his memory through inheritance. But because the memories were too complicated and vast, and he had broken through, it was not easy for him to familiarize himself with all of it. He had worked recently on absorbing the memories, but he knew it would take a long time to absorb them all and make them part of his memories. His soul consciousness searched among the flowing lights. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying soul presence came from the distant heavenly In Valley. Bright lights appeared in Qianlai's mind, and his forehead felt a burst of pain. He immediately stopped searching his vast memories. He instantly opened his eyes and looked at everyone. Did you feel it? What? Hua Tianxiong asked in puzzlement. The Flame Emperor, the Ice Emperor, Jidan, and the others also looked confused as though they felt nothing. Qianlai inhaled deeply, gathered all his soul consciousness and once again sent a ripple of soul-sensing art towards heavenly In Valley again. In his soul consciousness, all of heavenly In Valley seemed to be covered in endless darkness. He was unable to tear apart the endless darkness even with the soul-suppressing orb or feel his enemy's soul's movements. His expression changed dramatically. What happened? The Ice Emperor said gravely. Wait a moment. Qianlai had a serious expression as he formed a star door using the demon spirit of space and time bloodline. He then said, Have Pei De Hong and the others leave my side. The Ice Emperor turned and said to the old monsters of the six forces. Wait ahead, but do not be in a hurry to charge into heavenly In Valley. Otherwise, you will be responsible for the consequences. Pei De Hong and the others obeyed even though they did not understand what happened. They flew forward. At this time, Qianlai's Dark Soul Beast avatar, which had been in Giant Spirit Realm and was helping the Blood Soul Beast level up and restraining the 5 Night Ghosts experts, walked out of the star door. The Dark Soul Beast avatar used the Dark Soul Bloodline latent ability to hide its presence. Heavenly In Valley is having some abnormalities. My own soul's limited in rank and cannot exert the full force of the treasure, Qianlai explained. As he spoke, the soul-suppressing orb flew out of his forehead. The enormous Dark Soul Beast's green flaming eyes suddenly shone. The soul-suppressing orb fell to the forehead of the Dark Soul Beast. The Dark Soul Beast subsoul, with its rank 10 soul line, had soul power hundreds of times greater than Qianlai's main body, so it tried activating soul-sensing art instead. Whoosh! A mysterious light shot out of the soul-suppressing orb and immediately penetrated the darkness barrier around heavenly In Valley. The world inside heavenly In Valley suddenly became clear. In the dark valley, millions of phantoms filled the entire space, as if the entire world had been attacked by a swarm of locusts. Inside the valley, there was a realm entrance made from gray bones. clearly appeared to have been built not long ago. The phantoms came out of various places and flew in as black streams of power that wrapped around the bone realm entrance. Underneath the realm entrance was a black pond. The sticky black pond water seemed to have more remnant souls. Suddenly, those remnant souls in the pond appeared to detect his observation and gathered together. Second later, they formed a strange composition. Soul Beast. The Soul Beast which once rampaged in Nether Realm and almost destroyed the entire Nether Realm. Arg! The Soul Beast in the pond gave a low bellow, and countless phantoms dissipated. His soul consciousness which penetrated the endless darkness shook as though it was heavily struck. At this time, two other soul beasts appeared from behind the realm entrance rooted in the pond. Looking into the sky, their bodies shrank to human sizes. In the blink of an eye, the two soul beasts turned into two middle-aged handsome men with eerie eyes. I am Malcolm. I am Latif. They looked into the sky above heavenly Een Valley and introduced themselves in a confident manner. The man who called himself Latif had green eyes shining with cruelty and savagery. He said, "Give up the soul-suppressing orb." Xianxia immediately understood that Malcolm and Latif were the two soul race princes that had come with Narration after his shock passed. He attempted to pull his soul consciousness away from this place. Yet when he attempted to leave, he found that the endless black barrier he had passed through was healed. His soul that attempted to fly back encountered firm resistance. The soul-devouring beast from 30,000 years ago is still alive. The two soul race clansmen have built a realm entrance inside heavenly Een Valley with the power of the profound Een Nether Sea souls. His main body shouted outside heavenly Een Valley. What? The soul-devouring beast is still alive. The G family's forefather, G-Dan, stared at heavenly Een Valley in shock and gloom. The Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor were frowning deeply as well. Hadn't the god race hunted down the soul-devouring beast that had terrorized Nether Realm 30,000 years ago? The soul-devouring beast had never truly died completely, Hua Tianxiong of the Sky Mender Palace said. The crowd turned towards him in confusion. They knew that Sky Mender Palace and Nether Realm had had a fierce war. They also knew that Sky Mender Palace had killed all 5 demon gods of the Nether Realm. If Qinshan hadn't stepped up and stopped them, Sky Mender Palace would have charged straight to the heart of the Nether Realm and annihilated every race living in that place. It was why no one was surprised that the old palace master of Sky Mender Palace, Hua Tianxiong, knew more about the soul-devouring beast. The god race did kill the soul-devouring beast. Hua Tianxiong thought for a moment. However, not all of its subsouls were lost to the god race. From time to time, a couple of low-rank soul-devouring beasts around rank 3 or 4 would appear and try to cause havoc. However, they were all killed by the races of Nether Realm. As far as I know, not a single one of these soul-devouring beasts had managed to return to rank 5 since the original's death. You're saying that there are still a couple of subsouls operating in Nether Realm? Jidan asked. Hua Tianxiong nodded. Yes, but their rank shouldn't be too high. No! Qianli's true self declared. The soul-devouring beast that had appeared at the heavenly Een Valley is definitely a rank 10 soul race clansman. Before the group could prod further, he added, they also seem to be using the power of phantoms to fuel a realm entrance. It looks like they're trying to connect to another realm. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor exchanged a glance with each other before yelling in unison, "Let's go!" The group of Genesis realm experts suddenly made haste towards heavenly Een Valley. At the front, Pei Dehong and the others turned pale with shock when they heard the news from the Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor. What's wrong? Behind Qianli, Miao Yitzi and Ji Yao walked up to him concernedly after seeing he was still around. A wisp of my soul is currently trapped in heavenly Een Valley, Qianli replied. How can we help you? Miao Yitzi asked urgently. It's fine. Qianli shook his head. Heavenly Een Valley. The soul wisp the dark soul beast had created suddenly appeared right above heavenly Een Valley in soul shadow form. The soul race was a unique race that could split their soul into 1,000 strands without suffering any consequences. Therefore, losing a wisp of a soul would injure a soul race clansman, but not destabilize their existence. That was why he wasn't particularly worried. What he was really curious to know was why Malcolm and Latif had caused such a huge commotion. He wanted to know if they were truly planning to summon more soul race clansmen into spirit realm, and if the soul-devouring beast in the pond was the same as the one from 30,000 years ago. Roar! Inside the pitch-black pond, the soul-devouring beast that was made up of phantoms let out yet another growl. Pain like 1,000 needles suddenly penetrated Xianxia's soul shadow. He could sense that this wisp of his soul was about to vanish. Who are you? Why does your soul contain both Master and Kadak's presence? The soul-devouring beast asked directly through the soul. Master, Kadak. A blank moment later, Xianxia abruptly realized that the soul-devouring beast was referring to the soul progenitor and the dark soul beast. His soul had inherited the soul progenitor's imprint and the dark soul beast's soul fragments. In the end, they combined to form his subsoul. That was why his soul contained the both soul progenitor and Kadak's presence. A normal person might not have the ability to detect it, but not the soul-devouring beast. It was because he had descended to spirit realm with the soul progenitor and the dark soul beast, Kadak. The soul progenitor was his master, and Kadak was his close friend. Lord Zillan. He is a despicable thief who stole our race's soul-suppressing orb, Malcolm, the second prince said. The soul-suppressing orb belongs to the royal family, Latif added. I'm not asking the two of you. The soul-devouring beast known as Zillan shot a cold, eerie glance at the two princes. The two of you were only at rank 8 back when Master and I were fighting in the outer realms. Do not think for a second that I will obey your command just because you had awakened me from my slumber at the profound Nether Sea. Even if you are both currently at rank 10 soul line, you are still just failures in my eyes. My master is the monarch's only worthy inheritor, and the two of you are not worthy to command me. Hee. Unfortunately for you, loyal servant, our big brother had perished in this insignificant spirit realm a long time ago. Latif, the third prince, laughed sinisterly. He had even lost our race's holy artifact to a lowly life form. Now that he's dead, we must be the ones to inherit that holy artifact and bring it back to the royal family. If you wish to return to our race and possess an intact soul beast body, I would suggest that you cooperate with us obediently, Lord Zillan. Lord Zillan, we brothers had spent quite a bit of energy to awaken you at the profound Nether Sea. I hope that you can repay our kindness, Malcolm said coolly. The monarch is the one who gets to decide whether I'm allowed to return to our race. Not you two. Zillan snorted. The prince's eyes turned a little sinister after seeing that the soul-devouring beast was being completely uncooperative. Who are you? How did you obtain the soul-suppressing orb? Zillan glared once again at Xianxia's soul shadow. Swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just about Xianxia was about to answer, the 6 Great Forces Genesis Realm experts finally arrived at Heavenly Valley. His spirit was invigorated by their timely arrival. Whoosh! Pei Dahong was the first person to charge into Heavenly Valley, but suddenly, his body and soul altar suddenly became separate after he had passed through the barrier of infinite darkness. His 9-level soul altar appeared inside Heavenly Valley after a flash. However, his body limply fell outside the valley for some reason. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! Hongju, Ao Changsheng, and Lu Zhang tried to enter valley on their soul altars as well, but the end result was exactly the same. Their soul altars weren't impeded in the slightest inside Heavenly Valley. Even now, they were flying freely on the sky, but their bodies had all been left behind outside. Pei Dahong, Hong Ji, and Ao Changsheng's souls abruptly manifested outside their soul altars. They were clearly afraid and confused by their current condition. Interesting, isn't it? Latif, the third prince, let out a savage laugh. Your race's soul altar construction technique is something that is derived from our soul secret techniques. Imagine our surprise when we researched your soul altars and discovered that it was mostly made using secret knowledge only our race should know. Had that been not the case, we wouldn't have been so sure that we'd be able to stop you all here at Heavenly Valley. We are the soul race. Without your flesh and blood to back you up, how can you possibly beat us with soul power alone? Latif's eyes was full of cruelty and murder. Stop! The Ice Emperor suddenly yelled in a heavy voice just outside Heavenly Een Valley. The G family and Skymender Palace's Genesis Realm martial practitioners halted at the last second when they heard his command. It's Pei Dehong and the others. Their bodies are on the ground. Hua Tianqiong flew up and stared at the bodies fallen outside the valley and the pitch-black barrier. He immediately understood what was going on. Pei Dehong and Hong Ju's body had been left outside. Their soul altars are the only things that went in, the Ice Emperor said sternly. We can't unleash our full power without the soul power or spirit energy residing inside our body. It is almost impossible to beat a soul race clansman with the power of a soul altar alone. The barrier in front of us seems to be capable of separating soul altar from body, so do not act recklessly. Everyone's faces turned serious when they heard the warning. They dared not enter the barrier recklessly. Everyone subconsciously looked behind themselves. What about Qin Lai? Qin Lai can see what's going on inside Heavenly Een Valley, right? Why don't we ask him what's going on in there? The crowd discussed among each other. Chun Lin and Miao Yitzi were the only representatives of the Qin family today. Right now, Miao Yitzi was standing right next to Qin Lai. Chun Lin immediately knew what the group wanted when he saw that everyone was looking at him. He immediately contacted Miao Yitzi with a secret art. They're here. Chun Lin closed his eyes for a brief moment before opening them once more. Then he looked behind himself. Qin Lai's true self, his dark soul beast avatar, Ji Yao, Ji Yuan, and Miao Yitzi suddenly appeared behind the group. Before the group could throw their own questions at him, Qin Lai said, "The two soul race princes and the soul-devouring beast strange barrier are at the outer layer of Heavenly Een Valley. The reason this barrier can separate our bodies from our soul altar is because the human race's soul altar construction technique originates from the soul progenitor. We borrowed too much of our soul altar construction technique from the soul race's secret arts, and that was why those two soul race clansmen were able to tinker a barrier that could separate our soul altar and our body. All those with soul altars will have the connection between their soul altar and their physical body severed if they pass through that barrier. This barrier is specifically made to counter the human race. Without our physical body, our soul altar is nothing more but delicious food to those soul race clansmen inside Heavenly Een Valley," Qin Lai explained in a solemn tone. Every Genesis Realm expert here, including Void Realm experts such as Miao Yitzi and Ji Yuan, possessed a soul altar. Their soul and their knowledge of the world's truths and laws were all imprinted inside their soul altars. However, their vast spirit energy and the true source of their power lay within their flesh and blood. If a soul altar expert wished to unleash their true strength, they must possess both body and soul altar. If they only had a soul altar and no body, then they could only unleash the power in their soul. The tremendous spirit energy residing inside their body would be completely useless. How big was their chance of victory if they were to fight against two rank 10 soul race clansmen and one soul-devouring beast that made an entire nether realm weep 30 millennium ago? Even the Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor had fallen silent. It would be suicide even for the likes of them to fight a rank 10 soul-line soul race expert without their body, the source of their power. Everyone try to come up with ways to break apart this barrier, the Flame Emperor yelled. Boom! The Flame Emperor's 9-level fire soul altar took to the air and enveloped the sky of Heavenly Een Valley in fire. The fire soul altar was only 5 meters tall at first, but it grew bigger after the Flame Emperor had deployed his soul energy and unleashed his full power. In just a short time, the 9-level fire soul altar had become as big as a burning mountain range. Flame dance! The Flame Emperor yelled as countless sparks darted from all around Heavenly Een Valley. It was the fire spirit energy from volcanoes, lavas, and even strange beasts within 500-kilometer range. Sizz, sizz, szzz. The pitch-black barrier that shrouded the entire Heavenly Een Valley was attacked and burned by countless rays of fire at once. Fire continuously flashed out of the Fire Emperor's 9-level soul altar. A brilliant meteor that was flying peacefully in space was suddenly pulled in by the Flame Emperor's 9-level soul altar. Swoosh! The meteor abruptly fell toward Heavenly Een Valley while dragging a 10,000-meter long tail of fire. Boom! The entire heavenly Yin Valley shook like an earthquake had struck it. The pitch-black barrier covering the valley had failed to block the fiery meteor at all. However, the barrier itself seemed unharmed by the fiery meteor either. It doesn't isolate one's spirit energy or bloodline power, the Flame Emperor said with a serious expression. However, it doesn't look like my fire can burn down the barrier, even though it isn't stopping my power. What's happening inside? The Ice Emperor asked. Qin Lai said, it's effective. His dark soul beast Soul Shadow was currently observing its surroundings inside Heavenly Yin Valley. The Flame Emperor's giant meteor had drilled a giant hole in the ground. Deadly sparks, blaze, and light were spread everywhere inside Heavenly Yin Valley as well. When the fire meteor had made contact with the ground, the explosion and impact had enveloped the entire valley in fire. Even the countless souls residing inside the pond that could connect to the profound Nether Sea seemed to be affected by it. Qin Lai noted that the temperature of the entire valley had risen instantly when the fire meteor had fallen. Every soul, including Zilin, the soul-devouring beast, had submerged itself deeper into the pond, as if they were uncomfortable with the change. I see. He has lost his physical body. His current appearance was something he had created using the souls. In that moment, Qin Lai abruptly understood that the god race had refined and killed the soul-devouring beast's body. But as a soul race clansman, Zilin had also managed to let slip a subsoul that escaped all the way to the profound Nether Sea. He didn't know what Zilin had done or experienced in the profound Nether Sea, but 30,000 years later he had finally grown back to rank 10 soul line. The soul-devouring beast inside the pond was completely made up of souls. It didn't look like it could leave the pond or the profound Nether Sea. Right now, Zilin only had a soul left. It didn't have a true body, and it could only unleash the soul race's soul secret arts. This meant that Zilin might very well be the one who had created the pitch-black barrier using its cultivation in the profound Nether Sea and its soul powers. The barrier might not be afraid of fire, but it was effective on Zilin, whose current form was completely made up of souls. Not even Malcolm and Latif were immune to the fiery meteor. Lord Zilin. Second Prince Malcolm waved away the sparks headed his way in disgust before shouting at the soul-devouring beast hiding inside the black pond. Those fellows on the outside are starting to cause trouble. We need your power to control those whose soul altars are already trapped inside this barrier as quickly as possible. Once the 6 Great Forces Genesis Realm soul altars are enslaved, we'll be able to return their soul altars to their bodies and fight against those people outside. Work with us if you don't wish to sleep for another 30 millennia, Latif yelled. Pei Dehong and the others in their soul altar forms couldn't hear a single word of what the soul race clansmen were saying. But Qin Lai was able to hear everything even though he was only a soul shadow and farther away. He immediately realized that Malcolm and Latif had converted their speech through a soul race secret art. Since this soul shadow of his belonged to the soul of a pure soul race clansman, only he was able to hear and understand everything. Urged by both Malcolm and Latif, Zilin once again surfaced from the pond that was connected to the profound Nether Sea. It looked like the soul-devouring beast had finally stopped hesitating. It got ready to control Pei Dehong and the others. It was at this moment Qin Lai's true body outside Heavenly Yin Valley yelled, Senior Flame Emperor, the meteor you attracted earlier can penetrate that barrier and hurt them. The Flame Emperor's mouth split into a grin. That's good. Attack. You should keep attacking them. But with me guiding your attacks this time. Excited, Qin Lai added, Seniors, your soul altar and body will become separate if you were to pass through that barrier. However, you don't need to do that since I'm here to guide all of your attacks. Follow my directions and attack where I say to attack. Use any power that is effective against souls, normal or like these in Heavenly Yin Valley. Attack! The Ice Emperor yelled. At the Ice Emperor's command, Hua Tianxiong, Jidan, and a couple of Skymender Palace and G-Family Genesis Realm experts immediately connected their heart and soul to their soul altars. They prepared to bombard Heavenly Yin Valley with everything they got. Suddenly, Miao Yitzi spoke up. Qin Lai, speaking of powers that work exceptionally well against souls, I think that your Heavenly Thunder Eradication is probably one of the most destructive powers we have. Heavenly thunder eradication. Surprised, the Flame Emperor looked at Qin Lai and asked, "You know how to use Big Brother's heavenly thunder eradication?" Naturally, the Big Brother he was referring to was the Thunder Emperor, the strongest known expert of the human race. "You're right," the Ice Emperor shook in realization. "If there's one power that's exceptionally effective against souls, it has to be heavenly thunder eradication." Qin Lai slapped his own forehead and said, "I almost forgot." Heavenly thunder eradication was the first spirit art he had ever cultivated. Back at Ling Town, he had attracted heavenly lightning to temper his body and accumulate spirit energy. For the longest time, heavenly thunder eradication had been his main strength until he started cultivating the blood spirit art and the frost arts. He only slowed down his cultivation of heavenly thunder eradication after he had learned that he had God race bloodline in him. However, his passion for the power of thunder had never faded. When he was refining the origin crystal into his soul altar, he could clearly sense his recognition of the power of thunder deepening by a lot. However, because he came to possess two powerful soul beast avatars, a horde of soul servants, and numerous bloodlines that grew stronger each day, the times that heavenly thunder eradication was necessary became more and more of a rarity. "Come out!" He pointed at his own glabella and summoned the thunder spirit in a zap of lightning. "What is this?" the Flame Emperor asked curiously. "This is a spirit of void and chaos, of thunder element specifically." Qin Lai grinned at the Flame Emperor. Swoosh swoosh, multiple giant wooden pillars suddenly flew out of Qin Lai's spatial ring and hovered above his head. "Thunderblitz tree. You have 8,000-year-old Thunderblitz wood." The Flame Emperor's astonishment wouldn't stop growing. The Thunder Spirit sat at the center of the 8 Thunderblitz with slabs above his head. "Go!" Then, Qin Lai's crystalline soul altar took to the sky as well and stopped right next to the Thunder Spirit. Qin Lai slowly moved the 8 slabs of Thunderblitz wood above Heavenly Yin Valley with his powers. Arrararm! Crack! Thunder suddenly resounded throughout the bright blue sky. Then the entire world darkened all of a sudden. A bolt of lightning as thick as a living dragon abruptly descended from the lightning pool of the 9th heaven and landed squarely between the 8 Thunderblitz wood slabs. The Thunder Spirit at the center suddenly blended into one with the bolt of heavenly lightning. The 8 slabs immediately started crackling with lightning as if ignited. Even more rumbling came from within the clouds. Dense lightning swam across the sky like living dragons and snakes. A while later, even more lightning bolts fell down from the sky, passed through the center of the Thunderblitz formation, and was directed straight at Heavenly Yin Valley by Qin Lai's soul altar. Their power was even amplified by the Thunder Spirit. Boom! Crackle! The heavenly lightning landed near the pond where Zilin resided. The soul-devouring beast was just about to attack Pei Dehong's soul altar when the lightning struck him squarely in the body. ZZZT. Zilin's inelement-made body immediately started smoking a little. It almost looked like it had been splashed with acid. But Qin Lai knew the soul-devouring beast's body was no flesh and blood body. It was really just a form made of pure souls. Any soul that had lost the protection of its physical body would find it difficult to resist a lightning strike. Zilin's true body had long since been destroyed by the god race. His current body was really just a mass of element souls of profound nether sea. There was nothing more souls were afraid of than the lightning from the lightning pool of the 9th heaven. "Block those lightning bolts for me," Zilin roared. Unlike Zilin, Malcolm, and Latif had soul beast bodies. Noticing that the situation was taking a turn for the worse, Malcolm let out a cold snort and transformed back to his soul beast form immediately. The giant soul beast stood in between the lightning strikes and the pond where the soul-devouring beast resided. Boom! Crackle! The torrent of thunder and lightning struck Malcolm squarely in the body, making it look like a million lightning snakes were swimming across its body. However, no pain could be seen from its bluish-green eyes at all. The rank 10 soul beast was clearly confident in its ability to block the torrent of thunder and lightning with its physical body. Just the same, Qin Lai's soul only needed a glance to know that the heavenly thunder eradication was effective against Zilin. a mass of souls who had lost its physical body, but not Latif or Malcolm. He was, after all, just an imperishable realm martial practitioner. His heavenly thunder eradication had absolutely nothing to do with his bloodline powers. An imperishable realm-level heavenly thunder eradication simply couldn't summon enough power from the lightning pool of the ninth heaven or twist the natural laws enough to harm Malcolm or Latif. "Lord Zillan!" Latif yelled loudly. Zillan emerged out of the pond from beneath the realm entrance as countless souls wriggled around its body. They looked like swollen flesh umps. An eerie and evil soul energy rippled out of the soul-devouring beast that was made of element souls. "NGH!" Pei Dehong and the others suddenly screamed in pain from inside their soul altars. It was as if the shadows and souls had suddenly entered their soul altars without warning. Qin Lai immediately realized through his one-level soul altar that Zillan's evil soul energy had brought a seemingly endless amount of souls straight into their soul altars. It was as if every soul in the profound nether sea was under Zillan's control. It was trying to overwhelm Pei Dehong and the other's souls completely. "Faster!" Qin Lai roared inside his head. "Second brother! Look above you!" Latif screamed. 3 burning meteorites was falling straight towards Heavenly Valley. It was the second wave of meteorites the Flame Emperor had attracted from space. The Flame Emperor was a peak Genesis realm expert. He had fought against the Abyss Devils in the Abyss and other powerful races in other realms. Therefore, his true strength was an entire level above Hongju, even though they were both 9-level soul altar experts. Bang! Bang bang! The 3 giant meteorites slammed into the back of Malcolm's soul beast hard. Malcolm's giant body was immediately knocked toward the ground by the combined force of the 3 meteorites. Screaming in horrible pain, Malcolm had enough sense to change his fall trajectory and missed the realm entrance or the pitch-black pond. He crashed heavily against the ground instead and left a giant hole at least a dozen or so meters deep. That wasn't all. The heat energy inside the meteorites enveloped Malcolm's soul beast avatar completely and burned it non-stop. Meanwhile, another volley of lightning flew straight towards the pond after the 3 meteorite barrage. The lightning bolts struck Zillan unerringly, drawing a shrill scream from the soul-devouring beast and causing it to escape back into its pond. ZZZT. ZZZT. Qin Lai had guided small bits of lightning towards the 6 great forces' soul altars as well. The innumerable souls that had invaded their soul altars were instantly wiped out by the wash of lightning. Suddenly, a couple of lightning-covered souls appeared inside the pond beneath the realm entrance. It was as if those souls had escaped all the way back to the pond after they were struck by lightning inside the 6 great forces' soul altars. They did not to show their faces any longer after that. "Second brother! Lord Zillan!" Third Prince Latif shouted angrily when he saw that Malcolm was struck down by the fire meteorites, and Zillan the heavenly lightning. Without Malcolm's protection, the soul-devouring beast had no choice but to sink back into the pond. Malcolm had also taken quite the hit from the Flame Emperor's fire meteorites, not to mention that he was enduring Qin Lai's heavenly thunder eradication from the beginning. Malcolm's giant soul beast avatar slowly climbed out of the self-made pit and flew. Roar! He let out a violent roar towards the outside of Heavenly Valley. Roar! Latif did the same. A terrifying soul ripple surged outside Heavenly Valley like tidewater. The attack caused the soul altars that had been separated from their physical bodies even now to bob up and down like a boat that could capsize any second. Soul Beast Bloodline ability, Soul Devouring. Qin Lai immediately sniffed out the 2 soul race princes' intentions when he heard their roars. The Soul Beast was a flesh and blood puppet with 3 main bloodline abilities: Soul Devouring, Dark Soul, and Blood Soul. Dark Soul was a bloodline ability that could conceal a soul beast's bloodline power. Blood Soul could convert bloodline into pure soul energy. And Soul Devouring was the ability to consume souls. Right now, Latif and Malcolm were trying to use their soul race secret arts to enslave the 6 great forces martial practitioners' souls. However, even without their physical bodies, Pei Dehong and the others were all 8 or 9-level soul altar experts. Their souls were all incredibly powerful. Therefore, it was almost impossible for the 2 princes to enslave their souls in such a short time. Originally, The two princes had wanted to borrow the soul-devouring beast's strength and its strange connection to the profound nether sea to eliminate the trapped martial practitioners' souls and enslave them. However, the Flame Emperor and the rest of Qianlai's reinforcements were already starting to bombard Heavenly Valley like mad before they could truly act. Without a body to protect it, Zillan's soul form couldn't withstand any lightning attack at all. This meant that Zillan couldn't help them enslave the trapped martial practitioners' souls. That was why Malcolm and Latif decided to change their tactics. Instead of enslaving their souls and making them fight against their own kind, the two princes decided to use the soul-devouring ability and devour their souls directly, further increasing their own strength. Once their soul beast avatars had devoured the souls of peak experts, they would obtain an almost infinite amount of soul energy immediately and become threatening at an entirely different level. It was true that they would lose the long-term benefits of enslaving their enemies' souls and turning them into soul servants. But the short-term boost would enable them to fight the invaders evenly without Zillan. Whoosh whoosh! Both princes unleashed the Bloodline ability soul devouring in unison. Their soul beast avatars opened their giant, bottomless mouths and started sucking in all souls that were within their range. Pei Dehong, Hongju, Ao Changxing, Lu Zhang, and Zhu Yang's 8 and 9-level soul altars started to slip out of their control. Their souls had been pulled out of their translucent soul altars. Qianlai's soul shadow could see them struggling madly for fear of their lives. He understood that Zillan's earlier attack using the profound nether sea souls had in fact depleted much of its strength. If he hadn't injected their soul altars with lightning and chased away the souls, Pei Dehong and the rest of the 6 great forces martial practitioners might have been dragged into the profound nether sea already. If that had happened, their souls would have been imprinted with a soul mark immediately. Once the soul mark formed, their souls would forever be enslaved by Latif and Malcolm. After that, their souls would return to their physical bodies and regain their full strength. When that happened, they would become Latif and Malcolm's spears to use against the Flame Emperor, the Ice Emperor, and the experts of the Skymender Palace, the Qin family, and the Ji family. This was not the result Qianlai wished to see. It was true that he wanted nothing more than see Pei Dehong and his people die a horrible death. However, he restrained himself and helped them to escape using his thunder and lightning. They're trying to devour Pei Dehong's soul. Their souls are too powerful. If the two princes are allowed to succeed, they will instantly gain a tremendous amount of soul energy. Qianlai's true self said seriously outside the valley. "Give me their location," the Flame Emperor yelled. Qianlai closed his eyes and said, "Keep attacking the Heavenly Valley and show their soul beast avatars no quarter." "Got it." The Flame Emperor grinned strangely before he leaped up to his 9-level flame soul altar. Fire meteorite. The tall mountains near Heavenly Valley suddenly exploded into pieces. The Flame Emperor wrapped his flames around the shattered rocks that were at least as big as a rock house. Then, he threw them all toward Heavenly Valley. The Ice Emperor's power and the Flame Emperor's power were at two ends of the spectrum. The Ice Emperor knew that he would only be diminishing the Flame Emperor's power if he used his frost powers right now. That was why he chose to stand by and watch. The Skymender Palace's Hua Tianxiong, the Ji family's Ji Dan, and Chun Lin chose this moment to act. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hua Tianxiong's soul altar suddenly turned into a tornado that reached all the way to the clouds. The gray hurricane sucked a couple of 1,000-meter-tall mountains into itself. The nearby ancient trees, rocks, rivers, and dust were all sucked in as well. It looked like a giant, 10-kilometer-long gray dragon that was rearing to attack. Hua Tianxiong directed the hurricane straight towards Heavenly Valley. Boom! An enormous suction force came from the bottom of the hurricane. Suddenly, a giant whirlpool appeared right above Heavenly Valley. The scattered rocks inside the valley, the white bones that held the realm entranced together, the pond that connected to profound nether sea, and even the two princes who were busy unleashing the soul-devouring ability started floating uncontrollably towards the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. The Flame Emperor's meteorites completely unaffected by the hurricanes. However, he continued to fire them straight into the valley. Bang! Bang, bang! The two soul beasts that looked like giant dragons themselves were struck by burning rocks and dragged around by the hurricane. Their soul-devouring bloodline ability was largely diminished as a result. The hurricane had affected even the 6 great forces martial practitioners' soul altars. They were pulled up towards the sky. Even Qin Lai's soul shadow was dragged into it. Bang! Bang! The soul altars and Qin Lai's soul slammed straight into Zilin's black barrier because of the hurricane. Both soul shadow and soul altar bounced right off the barriers like balls. Unfortunately, the hurricane pulled them right up into the sky again. The soul altars slammed into the pitch-black barrier repeatedly. Bang! 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 In just a dozen of seconds or so, their soul altars had slapped into the pitch-black barrier at least dozens of times like a ping-pong ball. The souls residing inside the soul altars screamed soundlessly in pain, as if the impact had depleted much of their soul energy. It looked like they were faltering slightly. On the other hand, Qin Lai managed to stop his soul shadow from slamming into the black barrier again after the first impact. That was why he had escaped their suffering. Wait a second. Outside the valley, Qin Lai glared at Hua Tianxiong and yelled, "Stop doing what you're doing." Why? Hua Tianxiong was caught off guard. My soul shadow and Pei Dehong's soul altar can't escape that soul barrier. Qin Lai explained hurriedly. Your hurricane isn't going to pull us out of Heavenly Yin Valley no matter what. Moreover, the damage you're doing to the two princes is nothing compared to Senior Flame Emperor's fire meteorites. Oh, okay. Hua Tianxiong nodded. Not good. It was at this moment Miao Yitzi suddenly exclaimed, "Someone is attacking Sky-bearing City." Who? Qin Lai's expression changed drastically. It's Narration of the spirit race. He's leading the soul servants those 2 soul race clansmen had enslaved. Miao Yitzi said urgently. No wonder we didn't see any of their soul servants. They'd sent them all to Sky-bearing City. Damn it. Even Qin Lai was starting to panic. Qin Lai wasn't the only one who was surprised to hear that the Sky-bearing City was under attack. The Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor's attention was instantly diverted away from Heavenly Yin Valley. Sky-bearing City. Everyone outside the valley knew just how critical the Sky-bearing City the Qin family was protecting was. The heart of Spirit Realm lay under that ancient city. It was where the living soul of Spirit Realm, the geocentric motherlode, resides. Without the geocentric motherlode, Spirit Realm would run out of spirit energy, and all living things would perish. The main objective of the God race, the Spirit race, the Soul race, and all other powerful foreign races was the geocentric motherlode. The reason the 3 emperors had returned from the outer realms, lured the God race into Shattered Ice Realm ahead of time, and tried to repair the relationship between the 6 great forces and the Qin family, the Ji family, and the Skymender Palace were to protect the geocentric motherlode. They wouldn't allow any harm to befall it. Qin Hao hasn't returned yet, and Chun Lin is here with us. The amount of strength Sky-bearing City can muster is probably limited. The Ice Emperor pondered for a moment before saying to Ji Dan, Your family's Genesis Realm experts will return with me to Sky-bearing City. The Flame Emperor and Skymender Palace should be enough to hold down the fort. Got it. Ji Dan nodded. He immediately ordered the Ji family Genesis Realm experts to gather next to the Ice Emperor. He then took out a prismatic mirror from his spatial ring. Purple illusory heavenly mirror. The image of Sky-bearing City suddenly appeared inside the mirror. Outside Sky-bearing City, Narration, the Sartorius family experts, and 100 or so Void Realm and Genesis Realm human martial practitioners were attacking Sky-bearing City's light shield like crazy. Brilliant explosions and flashes of light were happening all across the sky. Qin Shan, Dan Yuanqing, and a couple more Qin family experts could be seen looking at the sky and frowning deeply. Open! The mirror of purple illusory heavenly mirror glowed brightly as a surge of terrific spatial energy burst out of the mirror. Boom! A tremendous power rippled out of the mirror immediately. Bang! However, the prismatic mirror abruptly exploded without warning, causing sharp fragments to penetrate Ji Dan's arms and waist. The Genesis Realm experts near him were wounded by the explosion as well, shouting, The purple illusory heaven mirror has shattered. How could this be? Without the purple illusory heaven mirror, It'd be almost impossible to make it to Sky-bearing City in time. The G family's experts frowned when they saw the purple illusory heavenly mirror exploding and their forefather being wounded in the process. It ultimately isn't the heaven gold mirror. Miao Yitzi sighed softly. She was fully aware that the purple illusory heavenly mirror was just an imitation of the heaven gold mirror. The heaven gold mirror was a divine grade artifact that was passed down in the G family for generations. Not the purple illusory heavenly mirror. Unfortunately, the heaven gold mirror was damaged badly since a long time ago. It would never be able to unleash its true power again. It was why Ji Yao had decided to gift Duan Xianxia the heaven gold mirror in the first place. The purple illusory heavenly mirror had been forged based on the heaven gold mirror structure. Although this artifact was slightly more powerful than the damaged heaven gold mirror, it was incomparable to a perfect heaven gold mirror. Since Miao Yitzi practiced the power of space herself, she knew that a perfect heaven gold mirror's reputation as a top-grade spatial divine grade artifact was well-deserved. If Ji Dan had been holding a perfect heaven gold mirror, she was certain that he could lead everyone to Sky-bearing City, no matter what was going on there. It's useless. Qin Lai shook his head suddenly. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor were currently looking at Qin Lai. They knew that Qin Lai possessed a secret art that allowed spatial travel no matter what the distance. They had put their hopes on Qin Lai. Qin Lai said, "I have a soul servant at the Sky-bearing City, and I tried to create a star door myself while Senior Ji was using the purple illusory heavenly mirror. But I'm well aware that Narration wouldn't give me a chance to do so. Narration of the Sartorius family is well-versed in the power and laws of space. His bloodline is also imprinted with the laws and essences of many spatial secret arts. I suspect that his comprehension and knowledge of the power of space had probably reached my master's level." Chun Lin added, "I've been to Vermilion Bird Realm and witnessed his mastery of space myself. If he had truly twisted the spatial laws around Sky-bearing City with his bloodline power, then no realm entrance or spatial teleportation formation within the range of his power will be usable." A bitter smile entered Chun Lin's features. If the heaven gold mirror wasn't damaged, then it could probably repair the distorted space around Sky-bearing City, considering that it has the unique power of locally restoring the laws of space. However, he shook his head. Qin Lai frowned all of a sudden. It was because he noticed that Malcolm and Latif's soul presences were diminishing little by little. Even the black barrier covering the sky of heavenly Een Valley seemed to be vanishing slowly. Whoosh! His dark soul beast avatar passed through the pitch-black barrier in a flash and landed inside the valley. The soul shadow he had sent into the valley a long time ago re-entered the dark soul beast's avatar. The barrier has disappeared. Qin Lai's true self yelled on the outside. The Flame Emperor, the Ice Emperor, Hua Tianxiong, and the others immediately took off to heavenly Een Valley after hearing his cry. As expected, their soul altars and bodies were unaffected now that the barrier was gone. The bodies of Pei Dehong and the 6 Great Forces martial practitioners were originally isolated outside heavenly Een Valley. Suddenly, they discovered that their connection to their bodies had been returned to normal. Their soul altars quickly flew back into their bodies. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. They instantly became one with their bodies once more. That was too close. We literally escaped from the jaws of death. Let's kill those 2 soul race clansmen as soon as possible. The 6 Great Forces martial practitioners stared at the soul beasts inside the valley hatefully even as they sighed with great relief. Meanwhile, the Flame Emperor was still raining meteors and burning rocks onto Malcolm and Latif's soul beast avatars. The 2 soul beasts were currently lying on the ground and smoking from head to toe. It was almost as if they were dead. Not a trace of soul presence could be detected from their bodies. The black pond at the center of the valley had disappeared as well. All that was left behind was a giant, pitch-black hole that seemed to connect to the profound Nether Sea. Bone-chilling air and creepy howls came out of the giant, bottomless hole from time to time. All the experts standing close to the hole felt like their hair was standing on their backs, and their souls seemingly overwhelmed. The realm entrance on top of the dark pond had exploded into nothing since a long time ago. Even the bones seemed to have been crushed into powder. The dark soul beast avatar landed next to the pond and touched the crushed bone powder before saying, "A fake." This realm entrance is a fake. There is no way the bones used to build a realm entrance would be this fragile. Those two soul race clansmen had purposely made a fake realm entrance to fool us into thinking that they will attract even more soul race clansmen into spirit realm. They had baited us into attacking Heavenly Een Valley with everything we got. And we had fallen right into their trap. He shot a glance at Pei Dehong and the others. The 6 great forces martial practitioners looked quiet and gloomy. Qin Lai added solemnly, "This is my mistake as well. I didn't notice that the realm entrance was fake, nor did I realize that the barrier outside Heavenly Een Valley had the ability to separate one's soul altar from their body." "Where are they?" Hua Tianxiong pointed at the 2 soul beasts. "They..." Qin Lai wore a bitter look on his face. "They probably were planning to borrow the soul-devouring beast and the profound Nether Sea's power to kill all martial practitioners who made it inside Heavenly Een Valley and convert them into soul servants. However, their plan hadn't gone as they had intended. They had switched to Plan B the moment they noticed that things were going awry. They discarded their soul beast avatars and scattered their souls towards their soul servants. This means that their souls would regather outside the sky-bearing city. All soul race clansmen have a secret art that allows them scatter themselves into their soul servants' souls and remake themselves afterwards." Everyone turned pale with shock. Chun Lin and Miao Yitzi looked downright fearful and anxious. Sky-bearing city was already under heavy pressure thanks to the Sartorius family and the soul servants. What could Sky-bearing city possibly do if the 2 soul race princes were to join their ranks as well? Outside Sky-bearing city, a lot of human martial practitioners were standing behind Narration. These people's souls had been marked with a soul imprint. They were all Latif and Malcolm's soul servants. Right now, a black soul smoke was seeping out of the corner of their eyes, their nose and their ears. The puffs of soul smokes were someone converging in the sky. A dozen or so seconds later, 2 giant soul trees suddenly appeared above their heads. It was Malcolm and Latif's true souls. A Genesis realm soul servant produced 2 ninth heaven martial practitioners' bodies. "Masters, here are some bodies for you to possess." They were people Malcolm and Latif hadn't managed to enslave in time after taking down ninth heaven. Whoosh! Malcolm and Latif's soul trees slipped into the 2 bodies' heads and entered their minds. The 2 human race martial practitioners abruptly opened their eyes. A dark green light that looked like a burning flame could be seen inside their pupils. Malcolm and Latif were moving their limbs and adapting to their bodies. They seemed to be wearing dark and unhappy looks on their faces. "How goes the battle on your side of things?" Narration asked. "There was a bit of an accident." Malcolm frowned and said, "It turns out that not all human martial practitioners are idiots. Neither the Ice Emperor nor the Flame Emperor had blindly charged into Heavenly Een Valley, so we didn't manage to separate their soul altars from their bodies. Also, that Qin Lai brat was guiding their aim and causing a lot of trouble for us. I suppose you can say that our operation at Heavenly Een Valley is a failure. We even had to leave our soul beast avatars behind for now. I told you before that that boy is a difficult opponent who's full of mysteries. Now you believe me," Narration said calmly. He had warned Malcolm and Latif since the planning stage that they must watch out for Qin Lai. However, both soul race clansmen had thought that Narration had exaggerated Qin Lai's abilities. After all, Narration was the one who had failed to kill Qin Lai both times at Vermilion Bird Realm and Giant Spirit Realm. They both thought that Narration was looking for an excuse to dress up his own failures. But now that they had both failed in their operation, they finally realized that Narration hadn't been exaggerating after all. Qin Lai had definitely played a critical role in disrupting their plans. It doesn't matter. It's not like we're only relying on just one operation to succeed. If either one of our operations works, then our plan is a success regardless. The second prince didn't look worried by their failure at the Heavenly Een Valley. "Why is Sky-bearing City still standing, Narration? Didn't you say that you have a plan? I was waiting for you to come back to me, wasn't I?" Narration replied. "We'd failed, and we'd lost even the 2 soul beast avatars best suited for us. Don't you think it's time you show us some sincerity?" Latif snorted. "But of course." Narration smiled at them both. The Heavenly Een Valley. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor were staring at the dry pond, the destroyed realm entrance, and the two soulless soul beasts with heavy looks. They had tried many other ways to teleport directly to Sky-bearing City from Heavenly Een Valley. Unfortunately, all their attempts had ended in failure thus far. Spirit Realm was incredibly vast, and Ninth Heaven's Heavenly Een Valley was exceptionally far away from Sky-bearing City. Without using a teleportation formation, it would take them at least 2 to 4 hours to reach Sky-bearing City by flight. No one could tell if Sky-bearing City would still be standing by the time they reached there. Qianlai sighed. You guys try to think of some ways. My true body cannot create a star door to Sky-bearing City, so there is only one way left for me to move there in a short time. Suddenly, his dark soul beast avatar's soul started weakening. His true self remained perfectly unchanged, however. Inside Sky-bearing City, at a corner of Dark Palace, soul smoke suddenly seeped out of an Azura clansman's orifices. Since Qianlai had only left behind one soul servant in Sky-bearing City, the time he took to depart his physical body and reappear inside the soul servant's head through the soul imprint was a dozen of times longer than Latif or Malcolm. It took him more than a minute before his soul tree had finally reappeared above the soul servant. Right now, there was no one inside the palace. All of the Qin family's martial practitioners had taken off to the skies. Master, there are no suitable bodies nearby for you to possess. How about I separate my soul altar from my body? The Azura race soul servant said. Amen. The Azura race soul servant manifested his 5-level soul altar after hearing Qianlai's agreement. This soul servant was just a middle-stage void realm martial practitioner. Qianlai's soul tree entered his soul servant's mind after the latter's soul altar had left his own body. Strange, black threads started crawling all over the Azura clansman's face and body like spirit snakes. A dozen or so seconds later, the black tendrils disappeared entirely after Qianlai's soul tree had successfully planted itself inside its body. Qianlai abruptly got up to his feet and said to the 5-level soul altar, "Stay here." I know. Qianlai, now an Azura clansman, flew out of the hall and took to the skies of Sky-bearing City. He immediately noticed that his grandfather Qinshan, Dan Yuanqing, Qin Yun, Qin Yi, Hunchback Ba, and Gon Faping were standing in the air. He flew straight towards them. "Who are you?" Dan Yuanqing abruptly shouted menacingly at Qianlai, forbidding the latte from coming closer. "Give him passage." But Qinshan waved his hands and stopped Dan Yuanqing. He was the only one here who knew who this Azura race soul servant was. "Grandpa, it's me." Qianlai spoke up suddenly after he had gotten close to the group. "I'm temporarily possessing this body." Dan Quanqing was very surprised. "Qianlai, amen. This Azura clansman is one of my soul servants." Qianlai explained briefly before moving on to the next subject. Those two soul race princes had used the same method as me to move outside Sky-bearing City. We were met with a couple of obstacles at Heavenly Een Valley, but all in all everyone had made it out safely. However, Sky-bearing City's spatial laws had been distorted and destroyed, and the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor are unable to rush to Sky-bearing City immediately. I came here first because I was worried that you wouldn't know about the two princes' return and the latest situation. Qinshan replied calmly, "Don't worry, Sky-bearing City will not fall. Don't worry, back when we first built Sky-bearing City, we were prepared to face even the God Race's main army." Qin Yun was smiling rather confidently himself. It is not an exaggeration to say that Sky-bearing City is Spirit Realm's toughest fortress. Forget these enemies. Even the patriarchs of God Race combined would be hard-pressed to break Sky-bearing City immediately. Grandpa, great sage Tianqi of the Spirit Race was here before. Qianlai reminded him. Qinshan replied confidently, "It's fine. I dealt with all his little tricks." Those Spirit Race clansmen had tried all kinds of methods on Sky-bearing City earlier, but they ultimately weren't able to affect anything. A hint of pride appeared in Qin Yun's eyes. The Qin family had spent countless manpower and resources to build Sky-bearing City. No one knew better than us how powerful it truly is. In that case, then all is well. Qianlai nodded before adding, Since the situation isn't urgent, I shall inform the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor to fly straight over then. Amen. Qin Shan grunted in acknowledgement. They could attack Sky-bearing City for half a month and not make any progress. We have plenty of time. Qin Yun looked completely unperturbed. ZZZT. But suddenly, a gap on the protective shield suddenly opened from inside on Sky-bearing City. Qin Shan abruptly turned pale with shock. The Qin family martial practitioners had screamed out in shock as well. Qin Yun and Qin Ye's faces looked practically bloodless. They had no idea what had happened for such a change to occur. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The invaders led by Narration instantly entered Sky-bearing City. In just the blink of an eye, the invaders that had been kept outside until now had entered Sky-bearing City. The light shield that was supposed to be capable of protecting the entire Sky-bearing City and resisting even the God race's patriarchs combined had abruptly become meaningless. Qin Shan wasn't looking at Narration or the two humans, who were clearly Latif and Malcolm. It looked like he was at nothing in particular until a man slowly formed from a fusion of light and shadow. The man said softly, "Sorry? What great sage Tianqi could give me is something neither the Qin family nor the humans' three emperors could provide. Curse progenitor!" Qin Lai yelled fiercely. Light and shadow superimposed upon one another until they formed the Curse Progenitor. The Curse Progenitor's soul had merged with Sky-bearing City since the moment it was built. He was Qin Shan's most trusted guardian spirit of the city. One might even say that he was the one who protected Sky-bearing City all this time after the Qin family had been forced to leave Spirit Realm for 300 years. It was through him that Qin Shan was able to control everything that was happening in Sky-bearing City. He was the brain of Sky-bearing City, and Qin Shan's arms and feet to control everything. Everything such as the great city-protecting formation and the city defenses must go through him first. That was why his defection was almost the equivalent of surrendering the entire Sky-bearing City to the enemy. "You dare!" A strange soul ripple abruptly spread out of Azura race soul servant. He was trying to enslave the Curse Progenitor directly using a soul race secret art. The Curse Progenitor's body had been tempered by the soul-suppressing orb before. His true body was covered in strange patterns. He was trying to use his control over the Curse Progenitor's body to enslave the latter again, separating body and soul from one another. "Are you looking for that body of mine?" The Curse Progenitor smiled faintly at him. "To tell you the truth, I no longer depend on that body anymore after I'd merged with Sky-bearing City as one. Sky-bearing City is my body for as long as it exists in this world. The body you're seeking isn't in Spirit Realm right now, so there's no way you can to control me again through that body." Qin Lai stopped as the Curse Progenitor expected him to. "Great Sage Tianqi has brought your body to the Spirit Race's territory, hasn't he?" Qin Lai said heavily. The Curse Progenitor smiled, but didn't give him an answer. Qin Lai suddenly recalled another thing and yelled, "You claim to have lured the profound Ice family over ahead of time under the Ice Emperor's order back at the Shattered Ice Realm. Was it really the Ice Emperor's order, or was it Great Sage Tianqi's?" Everyone's faces changed drastically when they heard this. It was because they recalled that the Curse Progenitor and the three emperors had communicated with one another in secret all these years. The Ice Emperor was able to enter and leave Sky-bearing City in confidence. This meant that the Curse Progenitor had had the three emperors' trust. Some time ago, the six great forces and the Qin family were just about to engage in an all-out war. However, the profound Ice family's sudden arrival and their invasion of the Dragon Realm had forced them to stop. Qin Lai later discovered that the Curse Progenitor had lured the profound Ice family members over to Spirit Realm ahead of time under the Ice Emperor's orders. At first, he believed that the Curse Progenitor had acted for the benefit of all of Spirit Realm. Now, it would seem like the Curse Progenitor and even the three emperors of the human race had acted under Great Sage Tianqi's machinations. This meant that Great Sage Tianqi had single-handedly created the situation that was plaguing Spirit Realm right now. That wasn't all. The Sartorius family, Latif and Malcolm, the Night Ghosts, Spirit Realm was like a chessboard, its races the chess pieces, and Great Sage Tianqi the player who was moving all of the pieces around. Great Sage Tianqi had done many things as Great Master Tianqi during the 300 years he had spent in Sky-bearing City. The cursed progenitor smiled and said, "He had discovered me the moment he entered Sky-bearing City. In order to persuade me to join his side, he had brought my soul into the spirit race's territory, showed me much of his operations in the outer realms, and made me realize just how small the races of spirit realm truly were. He showed me that the demise of spirit realm was unavoidable even with his omnipotence, and what I could do for him. After roaming the outer realms for a while, I finally understood what I was looking for. That is why I'm willing to obey his instructions. What he could give me was something none of you could provide." When the cursed progenitor was done explaining, he added, "There are two reasons why Sky-bearing City's realm entrances and spatial teleportation formations are unusable. One, it was because of Narson's spatial distortion powers. Two, it was because I had sealed them with Sky-bearing City's powers. It's almost impossible for the Flame Emperor, the Ice Emperor, and the experts of the G family and Skymender Palace to enter Sky-bearing City immediately. Even if they did, they wouldn't be able to breach Sky-bearing City because of me. Narson and his people have more than enough time to complete their objective. How dare you use Sky-bearing City against your own allies?" Qin Yun yelled angrily. The reason Sky-bearing City was built was to defend against foreign races and protect the geocentric motherlode. The cursed progenitor was one of the 5 progenitors of the human race. But right now he had opened the gates to the human race's enemies and shut the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor outside. In Qin Yun's opinion, the cursed progenitor had committed a grave crime that could never be forgiven for as long as the human race existed. Spirit realm is destined to disappear, and no one has the power to change this outcome. The cursed progenitor sighed. The only outcome that is available to those who cannot realize the truth is death. The gap on the light shield of Sky-bearing City vanished at this moment. By now, Narson, Malcolm, Latif, and the rest of their enemies had entered Sky-bearing City. No one could enter Sky-bearing City now, whether it be normal practitioners or the Flame and Ice Emperors. The Qin family's strongest expert, Qin Hao, isn't in Sky-bearing City right now. The few Genesis Realm experts and rank 10 foreign experts you commanded had been sent away to defend the Wood race, the Wuxia race, and the Black Jail race. The cursed progenitor stared deeply at Qin Shan before saying, "Right now, you only have 2 Genesis Realm experts, Dan Yuanqing and Lu He. This power won't be enough to do anything in Sky-bearing City." Qin Shan didn't give the cursed progenitor a reply. The cursed progenitor had witnessed his every move. He also knew all of his plans. Some time ago, he had sent the Qin family's peak experts away to defend Spirit Realm from foreign forces. Even the Qin family's Genesis Realm foreign delegates and foreign rank 10 Bloodline warriors were currently operating in other realms. The reason he dared to make such bold moves was because Sky-bearing City was like an impenetrable fortress. He was absolutely certain that Sky-bearing City could endure any attack until his experts had returned. After all, he had a number of realm entrances inside Sky-bearing City. All of Qin family's experts were supposed to be able to return to Sky-bearing City on a short notice. That was why he dared to send away all their experts on business. However, he could never imagine that the soul of Sky-bearing City, the cursed progenitor, would betray the entire human race. He never thought that he would be a spy for great sage Tianqi since a long time ago. This unexpected betrayal had created a giant hole in all of his plans. Right now, Qin Shan was trying his best to think of a way to turn this situation around. Oh no! Meanwhile, Qin Lai's true self was rushing back to Sky-bearing City with everyone. He immediately told them what had happened in Sky-bearing City. Sitting on their soul altars and moving through the clouds as quick as lightning, the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor turned pale with shock. Even they had no idea how to turn the situation around. Maybe the cursed progenitor is why the Thunder Emperor still hasn't returned yet. The Ice Emperor slowed down and pulled Qin Lai closer to him with a beam of icy light. The cursed progenitor was supposed to receive the Thunder Emperor from the outer realms. I was wondering why the Thunder Emperor hasn't shown up yet, even though it's been a while now. Logically speaking, he should have returned to Spirit Realm a long time ago. What? The cursed progenitor was the one who planned the Thunder Emperor's return journey. Qin Lai was stunned when he heard this. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor's faces looked heavy. If the cursed progenitor was one of great sage Xianxia's, then everything that had communicated and planned with him must have been privy to latter's eyes and ears. By now, it was clear that something had befallen the Thunder Emperor. It was very possible that great sage Xianxia had done something to disrupt his return. Considering the Qin family's current strength in Sky-bearing City, it's unlikely that we'll be able to protect the geocentric motherlode any longer after the cursed progenitor's betrayal. Even the Flame Emperor was feeling a sense of despair. The Ice Emperor was sighing as well. All we can do is fight back with all we have. Behind them, the Skymender Palace and the G family's martial practitioners groaned in sorrow after hearing their conversation. They felt like they could see the loss of the geocentric motherlode, the death of Spirit Realm and the desolate realms that were void of life in their minds already. Inside Sky-bearing City, the cursed progenitor spoke suddenly. Narration. Qinlai is inside that person. Narration and the Sartorius family members summoned their demon pets and began merging with them as they flew towards the Qin family members. Latif and Malcolm's soul servants were flying next to Narration as well. They would be fighting against the Qin family's experts as well. Meanwhile, Latif and Malcolm were gathering their soul energy and executing soul burial. As long as Narration and their soul servants kept the Qin family's experts busy, it wouldn't be long before Sky-bearing City was turned into a dead city. Qinlai, oh Qinlai, you escaped me twice in Vermilion Bird Realm and Giant Spirit Realm. This time you could have not come, but you came in soul form. I want to see how you escape this time. Narration laughed as he led the spirit race experts to fly over from afar. Come out. A giant golden rhino suddenly jumped out of a tearing spatial crack at his shout. This was Narson's demon pet. Narration had locked the spatial laws around Sky-bearing City. With the secret help of the cursed progenitor, all outside forces, the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor included, could not enter. The purple illusory heavenly mirror of the G family was rendered ineffective. Narration was the master of this area, and he could tear apart space as he wished. With the help of the cursed progenitor, he was the one in charge of the flow of people. His demon pet could come to his aid from anywhere too. That enormous rhino shining with golden light gave an earth-shaking roar. It shone as it charged toward the Qin family. Such a powerful beast! Dan Yuanqing, who had a 7-level soul altar and was in the early stage of the Genesis realm, felt the bloodline presence of the golden rhino and frowned. A glowing 7-level soul altar appeared from Dan Yuanqing's forehead. He immediately jumped on top of it and moved to intercept the charging rhino to prevent any casualties in the Qin family forces. Whoosh! A golden light 10,000 meters long shot out of the horn of the golden rhino. The light was like a long golden river that stretched in the direction of Dan Yuanqing's soul altar. Just as Dan Yuanqing was about to act, he saw the crisscrossing lightning in Narson's blue eyes. In a flash, an invisible spatial pressure completely covered him. He couldn't help but grunt. At this moment, the golden energy 10,000 meters long from the golden rhino landed on his 7-level soul altar. Ist! The glittering and colorful 7-level soul altar gave off bright light like fireworks in the sky above Sky-bearing City. Dan Yuanqing suddenly shouted. Everyone could see that he had been hit by the golden rhino after Narson's sneak attack. Whoosh! Qinlai used his subsoul to control the corpse of the Azura race and headed toward the golden rhino. He wanted to use a soul race secret art to attack the demon pet. Stand down! Qinshan suddenly raised a hand. Grandpa! Qinlai shouted. It is not your turn to fight at all costs, Qinshan said coolly. Old master. At this time, a middle-aged man who was very thin and had withered features called out in a strange tone. Qinlai stilled. This nondescript middle-aged man spoke in the language of the spirit realm with the same awkward accent as Luz of the Dark Shadow race, and La Pu of the Ghost Eye race. You've come, Qinshan nodded. At his words, the sallow-faced middle-aged man's figure grew blurry and disappeared. Crack! A crisp sound suddenly came above the head of the golden rhino. In the next moment, Narson's demon pet gave off an ear-piercing wail. Qinlai focused and then his body shook. The middle-aged man who had been standing in front of Qinshan a moment earlier could be seen on the golden rhino's head. a huge object in his hand. It was the horn of the golden rhino. The giant rhino underneath him walked in sorrow as it shone with golden light. The thin man did not seem to care. He gripped the golden horn and suddenly shoved it toward the head of the golden rhino. Eft! That horn which came from the golden rhino sunk into the demon pet's skull. The demon pet that Narration raised from childhood immediately stopped howling. The golden light in its eyes slowly grew dim. It had not been able to merge with Narration and show its greatest power before its own horn penetrated its head. No! Narson's shout finally sounded. Everything happened in a flash from when Xianxia nodded to the golden rhino's head being pierced through. Even Narration, as powerful as he was, could not react in time. By the time he realized, the result had already been decided. Even he could not reverse this. Grandpa, he is? Qianlai's eyes flashed. The thin middle-aged man still did not show his aura when killing Narson's demon pet. If Qianlai's subsoul was not a rank 10 soul-line soul race clansman, if he had not heard the person speak awkwardly in the spirit realm language like Lapu and Luz, he feared he would not think of the other's identity and true power. Father, who is he? Qin Yun asked curiously. As Qin Shan's eldest son, even he did not know the person's identity and origins. Patriarch, your demon pet is dead? Boggett of the Sartorius family looked in shock as though he did not dare believe the reality in front of him. He could not imagine how that person was able to easily kill Narson's demon pet based on the golden rhino's strength and Narson's cautious personality. Boggett suddenly felt terrified, because in this moment, the thin man's hair and eyes turned deep purple. He roamed in the sky over sky-bearing city like a snarling demon. Corpses fell from the sky above the ancient city like kites with their strings cut. Those people were Sartorius family members or the soul servants of Latif and Malcolm. They were all human experts in the Void or the Genesis realm, or rank 9 spirit race clansmen. However, that was of no relevance before the thin man's lightning speed. Where did you come from? Narration finally lost control and shouted. I do not believe that a rank 10 Great Lord of the Abyss would listen to a lowly human. Great Lord of the Abyss? That person shook his head and said, I have never gone to the Abyss, and never thought of myself as a Great Lord of the Abyss. But 3 millennia ago, other people hailed me as Evil God, or Demon God. It's him, the Demon God of Nether Realm, one of the 5 great demon gods. He should have been killed by Skymender Palace 3,000 years ago. Those human race soul servants enslaved by Malcolm and Latif suddenly screamed. 3,000 years ago, the experts of Nether Realm started to invade Central World of Spirit Realm through the Nether Continent. At the time, the gold rank forces of the human race had been greatly wary of the 5 great demon gods. In the end, Skymender Palace gathered all the forces and fought the 5 great demon gods. The price they paid to destroy them was immense. The Nether Realm declined from then on. Skymender Palace almost invaded them and exterminated their races instead. 3,000 years ago, Qin Shan was the most skilled artificer of Spirit Realm, and the Qin family just a family that sold spirit artifacts, far from their present power and foundation. But he used his private relationship with Hua Tianxiong to ask Skymender Palace to have mercy and spare Nether Realm. Due to this, all the races of Nether Realm called him the Venerable One. After Qianlai's death and Qin family's exile, he left the central world and had gone into hiding. He took the other Qianlai to hide in Ling Town. The Ling Town's Ling family had coincidentally been proven to be the descendants of the Dark Nether race, the royal race of Nether Realm. Qianlai, under his urgings, coincidentally made an engagement with Ling Yushi. All the signs showed that Qin Shan and Nether Realm and the Dark Nether race always had an unusual relationship. But no one had expected the strongest of the 5 demon gods of Nether Realm was still alive, and had always been beside Qin Shan. Back then I said our time to fight Ninth Heaven was not mature and needed to wait a while longer. Qin Shan turned and said to Qin Yun and Qin Yi, I needed to wait because Ming Xiao had not awoken completely. Otherwise we would not have lost. Pity, I did not manage to control myself and attacked prematurely because of liar's matter. As he spoke, the demon god he called Ming Xiao killed more than half of the invaders. He is every bit equal to the strongest great lord of the Frost Desolation Abyss, Dawson. Qin Lai was amazed. With Qin Lai's understanding of the Abyss Devils and his experience, the demon god called Ming Xiao had not exerted his full strength. Ming Xiao's rank 10 bloodline had not completely exploded and transformed. When a rank 10 Great Lord of the Abyss released their bloodline, they wouldn't look like present Ming Xiao. There were all kinds of rumors about the demon gods in Nether Realm. They all described how when the demon god transformed, they would not be much smaller than the giant dragons and ancient beasts. Ming Xiao only looked like a purple-eyed and purple-haired human, but even so, the soul servants and Sartorius family members could not withstand his power. Crack! Purple lightning flashed above sky-bearing city like a giant net. Thick abyss devil energy came from the thick bolts of lightning. They turned sky-bearing city into a deep purple ocean. Ming Xiao seemed to hide within the dense purple abyss devil energy and gradually disappeared. But his terrifying aura seemed to be an enormous shadow that clouded every being's mind and soul altar. Narration! Stop him! The second prince of the soul race, Malcolm, howled. The human body he was possessing was trapped by the bolts of purple lightning. At this moment, Malcolm wanted to use soul burial to turn sky-bearing city into a dead city. He suddenly felt Ming Xiao's aura drown him, as though he was being submerged in deep purple ocean. Damn it! Our soul beast bodies are still in heavenly Een Valley. Latif cursed. For them, their soul beast bodies could exert their greatest power. The two human bodies they were in could not release their full power. They were at a disadvantage fighting a rank 10 Great Lord of the Abyss with their human puppets. Do not worry. I can handle it. Narration calmed down. His dark gaze moved away from the golden rhino. He cut off his complicated emotions and focused on Ming Xiao. Great Lord of the Abyss. Narration evaluated Ming Xiao's true combat power as he slowly adjusted his power and used his bloodline to take advantage of the spatial laws. As his bloodline boiled, his eyes shot out icy blue lights that looked like crystals in the air. Strange ripples appeared in sky-bearing city's space like waves. A suffocating and terrifying pressure came from the sky and reached every being's soul altar and mind. Oh! Dan Yuanqing, who possessed a 7-level soul altar, suddenly fell to the ground with his prismatic soul altar. Beside Qin Shan, another 7-level soul altar expert Lu He also had a pale face. His body wavered. The stronger the experts, the more levels they had in their soul altar, the more pressure they seemed to endure. Qin Shan, Qin Yun, and the others were slowly falling back into the city facing such terrifying pressure. Qin Lai, who had an Azura race body and a soul race subsoul, also felt the crushing pressure of the spatial laws. His soul was not affected by the terrifying pressure, but the Azura race body he possessed could not withstand it. He could only slowly move toward the city. Boom! The ocean of purple abyss devil energy covering sky-bearing city suddenly sank down to the city. The Qin family martial practitioners and artificers in the city felt their hearts beat rapidly as the purple abyss devil energy fell. They all felt as though they were going to meet a calamity. Life extraction art. Narson's bloodline power changed and the spatial power pushing down suddenly increased. An indescribable biomagnetic field seemed to cover all of sky-bearing city as the spatial power increased. All beings in vicinity felt a wave of tiredness wash over them. Not good. Qin Lai frowned. Narration and the Soul Race clansmen are using soul burial to consume souls, and the other is using the life attribute art of the spirit race to harvest the life force of all beings. Soon, everyone in sky-bearing city will die out. He and the 2 soul race princes will gain power that we temporarily can't match. Do not worry too much. Qin Shan's tone was calm. He frowned and looked towards the sinking deep purple clouds. Arg! A sky-rending howl came from within the purple sea of clouds. The slowly sinking purple clouds suddenly began floating back up. An enormous shadow with wings on their back and curved horns on the head appeared. The enormous demon figure seemed to drag on the sky with a hand and push upwards. Boom! The sky seemed to be pushed upwards, and the spatial pressure on everyone immediately disappeared. Snap, snap, snap. Thousands of lightning bolts were released from the gigantic shadow's figure, burning their targets like purple flame. Strange spatial patterns seemed to burn, ignited by the purple demon fire. The beings inside Sky-bearing City suddenly felt their tiredness disappear. Careful of soul burial, Xianxia warned. In the purple cloud sea, the enormous figure slapped at Malcolm and Latif's human race bodies with an enormous hand. Countless bolts of lightning turned into a galaxy that drowned the two soul race clansmen. Poof! Their human race bodies exploded in the purple lightning. Their soul trees flew out and floated to the side. Do not use soul burial. Work together to kill this abyss devil first. Boggart screamed. The two soul race princes in their soul tree form heard Boggart's shout and suddenly had a realization. The two soul trees suddenly changed into countless wisps of green flame. The green flames seemed to fall into corners of Sky-bearing City like meteors. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of martial practitioners flew out of every area in Sky-bearing City. Those people had green eyes and green flames leaking out of the corners of their eyes. The martial practitioners who had been instantaneously possessed burned their souls and increased Malcolm and Latif's power. The possessed martial practitioners stood in a strange formation. Hundreds of souls burned together, and the soul power they produced seemed to all head towards Ming Xiao, who had changed into his demon god form. Those who were unfamiliar with the soul race secret arts did not understand what happened. They only saw the enormous demon figure floating in the purple ocean of clouds suddenly shudder. Then that giant figure seemed to be restrained by invisible chains, its arms moving with difficulty. Soul bind. Xianxia immediately saw Ming Xiao's soul was being suddenly bound by Malcolm and Latif working together at a price of the souls of hundreds of martial practitioners. Narsen's blue eyes suddenly lit up. Attack! A roar came from the martial practitioners, burning their souls in unison. All the martial practitioners in Sky-bearing City were shocked at the invaders' resolve. Coming! Narsen responded. SSTist. An enormous spatial blade, 10 meters wide and almost 1,000 meters long, formed from his bloodline power. At this time, the cursed progenitor who had disappeared when Ming Xiao came, flashed back into existence. The city-protecting shield covering all of Sky-bearing City turned into a ray of light that shot towards the purple clouds. The purple ocean of dense abyss devil energy immediately dissipated under the light's attack. The blurry figure of Ming Xiao in the purple clouds immediately grew clear. Narsen used bloodline power to make an enormous spatial blade that appeared able to tear everything intangible to slice towards Ming Xiao's transformed body. Master! Dan Yuanqing and Lu He screamed as they saw Ming Xiao's soul being bound and Narsen's spatial blade about to land. Xianxia also paled. Ming Xiao would not die so easily, Qin Shan said with a cool expression. For some inexplicable reason, all the Qin family members and the martial practitioners loyal to the Qin family felt calm when they saw his composure. Xianxia's heart gradually rested. He pulled back his soul power that was about to erupt. He focused and used his rank 10 subsoul to detect the minuscule power and bloodline changes from Narsen, Ming Xiao, and the others. He could feel that Malcolm and Latif had spent a lot of soul power, both now to reform their souls through their soul servants and back at Heavenly Yin Valley. He concluded that Latif and Malcolm were not at their peak right now. Narsen of the spirit race lost his golden rhino. He could not merge with his demon pet anymore, so his combat power as spirit race clansman was limited. This meant that their strongest enemies were severely weakened, while Ming Xiao, Qin family's trump card, was at his peak. Ming Xiao gave him the same feeling as the great lord of the Frost Desolation Abyss Dawson, who was the true ruler and peak existence of his abyss level. Beings of this level, capable of ruling over an entire abyss level, were usually really capable and resourceful. Such entities would not die so easily. Having come to this point, he believed Ming Xiao would be fine. Crack! The enormous spatial blade cut at Ming Xiao's wide wings like a giant blade. Ming Xiao's black wings suddenly gave off purple demonic light that enveloped the spatial blade. The bloodline power of a rank 10 abyss devil collided repeatedly with Narsen's spatial power. Boom boom! A strong beating came from Ming Xiao's abyss devil heart, his dark purple eyes suddenly gleaming with savage purple light. Get lost! Threads of black smoke came from Ming Zhao's nose, ears, and eyes. He forced them out of his body himself, and destroyed them with purple lightning an instant later. His body regained its usual nimbleness. Qin Shan, these outsiders are irrelevant. It is more important you get the cursed progenitor. Ming Xiao twisted his thick neck as he shouted. If you secure the cursed progenitor, you can use the realm entrance and teleportation formations of Sky-bearing City. Why would you have to worry about these outsiders then? Maybe because he heard Ming Zhao's words, the cursed progenitor now disappeared to the point where even his presence was gone. The power that had attacked the purple ocean of clouds returned to the sky, turning into a prismatic circle of light that surrounded Sky-bearing City. Father, he is right. It is most important to secure the cursed progenitor, Qin Yi said. His soul was merged into every brick and tile when Sky-bearing City was being built. Even I do not have absolute confidence I can control him in Sky-bearing City. Qin Shan frowned and said, Let me try, Qin Lai added. Qin Shan's expression changed. He suddenly recalled that Qin Lai was coincidentally a rank 10 soul line soul race expert. The members of the soul race usually had unique tactics in search for souls and dealing with them. Then you try, but be careful. He can use Sky-bearing City's power, Qin Shan warned. I will, Qin Lai answered. His soul power penetrated toward Sky-bearing City like water and attempted to separate the cursed progenitor. Cold and dark threads of soul presence permeated every wall, every brick, every rock of Sky-bearing City, like a million of remnant souls. He felt with his mind and found that this presence belonged to none other than the cursed progenitor. It seemed he needed to first destroy Sky-bearing City in order to kill the cursed progenitor's soul. His soul has divided and is in every part of Sky-bearing City. It will not be easy to take control of his soul. Qin Lai frowned. Then what do we do? Qin Yi said urgently. I will keep trying, Qin Lai answered. Whoosh! His soul tree, residing in the Azura race soul servant, suddenly flew out and entered the granite floor of Sky-bearing City. In this moment, his main soul also turned into countless parts that penetrated into the walls, halls, stones, and floor of Sky-bearing City. The cursed progenitor had been just a human race martial practitioner with early Genesis realm cultivation when he had merged with Sky-bearing City. Qin Lai's soul, however, was a rank 10 soul line. Used the power of all soul servants. As his thoughts changed, his soul servants in Giant Spirit Realm, Ancient Beast Realm, Baluo Realm, and the Frost Desolation Abyss all sat down. They contributed their soul power. Not long ago, this rank 10 subsoul had used soul burial and refined a vast amount of soul energy through killing the foreign experts of night ghosts in Giant Spirit Realm. That soul energy had entered every soul servant's soul as a reward. In return, all his soul servants' soul power had increased. Therefore, now that they were helping Qin Lai again, this help was much stronger than back then. Rays of soul light flooded his subsoul with the soul mark as the medium. His rank 10 subsoul seemed to fill each blade of grass and tree in Sky-bearing City. He could feel that the cursed progenitor's scattered soul in Sky-bearing City was slowly gathering power. ZZT ZZT. ZZT ZZT. ZZZT ZZT ZZT. Suddenly, black lightning came from every wall, rock, and vast palace in Sky-bearing City. Fine lightning seemed to fill every corner of Sky-bearing City. Many strange soul power vibrations came from each corner, wall, hall, and formation in Sky-bearing City. They are fighting with their souls. Boom! Waves of soul vibrations exploded out of Sky-bearing City. The martial practitioners inside the city felt as if the city seemed to suddenly turn into an entity with a soul. Ming Xiao, who had turned into a demon god, worked to grapple with Narration and the two soul race princes. Dan Yuanqing and Lu He also released their soul altars again and worked together against Bagat of the spirit race. Hunchback Ba, Gon Faping, and the other loyal subjects to Qin family also flew into the sky and fought the Sartorius family. The sky filled with many colored lights, turning it in a prismatic spectacle. At this time, Qin Lai's rank 10 subsoul had turned into millions of pieces and flooded into each rock in Sky-bearing City, He suddenly found there were refined spirit diagrams carved into every brick of sky-bearing city. As his soul divided, he seemed to see an enormous structure diagram reflect in his mind. This was the structure diagram of sky-bearing city. He gradually found there were hundreds of compound spirit diagrams carved within. Within those large compound spirit diagrams were smaller spirit diagrams. There were possibly tens of thousands of them with his present knowledge. All of sky-bearing city appeared like an enormous spirit artifact, and the cursed progenitor was its artifact soul. His divided soul roamed inside sky-bearing city like how he had used his soul to penetrate into a spirit artifact. He felt every detail of the structure inside. He suddenly thought of what his grandfather Xianxia had said back when he was in Ling Town. From the veins of the world to the patterns of the palm, they were all diagrams. The spirit diagrams were the direct manifestation of the laws of the universe and contained the truths behind power. Grandfather personally made sky-bearing city. All the spirit diagrams inside the city must come from his hands. The cursed progenitor was the artifact soul he chose to operate sky-bearing city. The thoughts flashed through his mind. As his understanding of sky-bearing city deepened, he slowly organized his thoughts. You are also an artifact soul. Suddenly, a soul message came from all the hidden millions of scattered souls within sky-bearing city. Just an artifact soul. You really think you can change spirit realm's situation? You think that you can control sky-bearing city absolutely? Young Master Qin, if you are able, try. The cursed progenitor's soul thought came from every brick. I know you are skilled in forging and have a unique outlook on spirit diagrams. But this sky-bearing city was built step by your grandfather, the most skilled artificer of spirit realm over centuries. I am the soul of this city, and I am also skilled in formations. When he was not in sky-bearing city, I abandoned everything and secretly merged with it. Unless your understanding of spirit diagrams can reach level of me and your grandfather, you can't separate me from this city, even with a soul stronger than mine. Do you think you can? The cursed progenitor's soul thought was filled with disdain. He clearly had no fear. As one of the 5 progenitors of the human race, he was skilled in the art of curses. Back then, he, the soul progenitor, and others worked together to close the abyss channel at the bottom of the ocean under the land of chaos. After that, every expert in the land of chaos would have an accident when breaking through to the void realm because of the effects of his curse. In terms of diagrams and patterns, he did not believe the young Qin Lai could match him. I will try. Qin Lai responded unyieldingly. His main soul had never slacked in comprehending the ancient diagrams inside the soul-suppressing orb. He had a great understanding of the low, middle, and even a few high-grade ancient diagrams hidden inside the soul-suppressing orb. The ancient diagrams imprinted inside the soul-suppressing orb were the source of the most mysterious and strongest diagrams in the universe. Even his grandfather, because he hadn't inherited the soul progenitor's soul, was not recognized by the soul-suppressing orb and hadn't used his soul to feel the secrets of the ancient diagrams within. His soul threads turned into rays of light that flew within sky-bearing city as his thoughts changed. He used his soul as the medium to carve a diagram belonging to him inside sky-bearing city. His rank 10 soul line, and the vast soul energy contributed by the soul servants, meant he could use soul power as he wished. His soul threads swam like schools of fish on the rocks and walls of sky-bearing city as well as underground. Through some inexplicable method, some lines crisscrossing, some lines merging, the threads turned into a complicated and profound diagram. Many diagrams invisible to the naked eye gradually covered each rock inside sky-bearing city. Oh! Qin Shan's eyes glimmered. He stared in surprise at the ground underneath him as though he had detected something. What is it? Qin Yi asked. Qin Shan ignored him, slowly closing his eyes and feeling with his mind. After a while, Qin Shan opened his eyes with a smile on his lips. He said, gratified, I really hadn't expected that he managed to hear what I taught him those years when he was muddled and he managed to master it. I always thought that I was talking to myself and he did not understand a thing. So he remembered everything. Qin Shan suddenly laughed out loud. His laughter puzzled all the Qin family martial practitioners, especially since these Qin family experts were fighting with the invaders to death. His laughter seemed very inappropriate. Crack! The curtain of light covering sky-bearing city suddenly had a tear appear. The cursed progenitor seemed to lose some control of sky-bearing city that he was a master of. Even the space Narration had controlled seemed to be affected by an invisible force and had a corner broken open. Inside the Qin family hall, a soul altar flew out of an Azura race soul servant and spun furiously. Strange spatial vibrations exploded next to it. A bright star door formed. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor came through the star door in a flash with Qin Li's main body. "We are in its sky-bearing city." The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor shouted in joy when they appeared in the hall. Poof! The star door behind them exploded ferociously because Narration once again forcibly twisted space. However, the 3 seconds that the star door had existed for allowed the Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor to reach sky-bearing city. The situation of sky-bearing city had suddenly reversed. The 2 9-level soul altars, one ice-cold, the other burning hot, flew into the sky. The Ice Emperor, the Flame Emperor. Inside sky-bearing city, all the humans were shocked when they saw the 2 9-level soul altars. The Qin family members looked on with bright eyes. They knew the threat to sky-bearing city had been resolved with the arrival of the Ice and Flame Emperors. Qin Shan also sighed inwardly in relief. Roasting flowing flame. The streams of flame filled half of the sky above sky-bearing city at the Flame Emperor's shout. Those flames seemed to be alive and nimbly avoided Dan Yuanqing, Lu Ha, and the other Qin family martial practitioners to attack the martial practitioners of the Sartorius family. Arctic Seal. The Ice Emperor looked coldly at the martial practitioners possessed by Malcolm and Latif and used the Arctic essence from underneath the Flame Emperor. The power to freeze souls came out of his glowing 9-level soul altar and poured down in waves. Latif and Malcolm knew the situation was bad when they saw the Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor appear in sky-bearing city. When Ice Emperor released his powers of frost, their divided souls which had hidden in the human martial practitioners immediately flew out and gathered together. Seconds later, Latif and Malcolm's souls turned back into soul trees. They turned into black lights and escaped sky-bearing city. Cursed progenitor. Their soul voices went to sky-bearing city to remind the cursed progenitor to open the protecting shield of sky-bearing city and release them. But the cursed progenitor did not seem to detect them. Poof! Their 2 soul trees hit the protective shield of sky-bearing city hard and were bounced back. Crack, crack! The frost energy of the Ice Emperor immediately turned into glowing pieces of ice that hit and enveloped the 2 soul trees. The ice chunks froze the space around themselves, locking the soul trees in place. Narration! Latif shouted angrily. Arg! The demon god body of Ming Xiao seemed to be walking between many spatial cracks. Narration of the Sartorius family flashed through multiple layers of space, attempting to attack the Abyss Devil with his unique bloodline trait. Narson's combat power decreased greatly after losing his demon pet. Ming Xiao, who had also reached rank 10 bloodline, could bounce among the different spaces and force Narration to keep his attention focused. Curse progenitor. Narration only shouted perfunctorily with his soul in hope the cursed progenitor would respond. But he knew the arrival of the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor meant the lockdown of sky-bearing city seemed to have encountered some issues. This problem had been entrusted to the cursed progenitor. Therefore, the man himself must have encountered trouble. Grandpa. At the same time, Qin Li's main body, which came with the Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor, flew next to Qin Shan. How did you break it? Qin Shan said curiously. He knew that the Qin Li in front of him was the same as the one who had fought the cursed progenitor previously and their souls were connected. This meant that this Qin Li was also a participant in the soul battle happening right now in Sky-Bearing City. He had spent a lifetime in building Sky-Bearing City, and he thought of it as his life's best work. His knowledge and study of spirit diagrams were carved into each brick and tile of Sky-Bearing City, and there was also the cursed progenitor to deal with. Even he had no confidence he could fight the cursed progenitor inside Sky-bearing City and take it back, but Qinlai had caused a crack in Sky-bearing City's formation and summoned the Ice and Flame Emperors over. He thought of himself as the strongest artificer of Spirit Realm. Qinlai was his grandson, but he felt slightly complicated about the other breaking open Sky-bearing City. I cannot break open Sky-bearing City. Qinlai shook his head and said, the thousands of diagrams making up Sky-bearing City can rival the ancient diagrams inside the soul-suppressing orb. I only used the understanding I have of the ancient diagrams to cause a small ripple in Sky-bearing City. I spent a great amount of soul power and caused an explosion inside Sky-bearing City with an ancient diagram. I caused the cursed progenitor to lose control of Sky-bearing City for a few seconds. During this time, I made a connection between my main body and the soul servant to form the star door. As he spoke, the soul-suppressing orb slowly floated out of his forehead. The thing that can deal with the cursed progenitor is my rank 10 subsoul and this thing. He grinned. Under Xianxia's gaze, the soul-suppressing orb landed on the stone floor of Sky-bearing City and ripples of black light spread in ripples. The black light filled Sky-bearing City in a breath like lightning. Soul assimilation. As Qinlai shouted, the black light spreading from the soul-suppressing orb retreated back into the bead. But it was possible to see dots of black energy in the black light. Those black energies seemed to contain the cursed progenitor's aura. The black soul-suppressing orb released a dark curtain of light. Black energies gathered in the light and formed a soul. The cursed progenitor. It's him. Qin Yun and Qin Yi were stunned. They found the soul appearing in the dark light was the artifact soul of Sky-bearing City. How did you do it? Qin Yi said in shock. Qinlai smiled slightly and wasn't in a hurry to speak. More soul threads floated off the floor and formed his dark soul beast subsoul. Grandpa, I have taken the artifact soul of Sky-bearing City into the soul-suppressing orb. This city doesn't have an artifact soul now. Will there be any problems? He looked at Qin Shan. Qin Shan thought for a moment and said, I will refine another artifact soul into Sky-bearing City. Boom! At this time, violent spatial vibrations came from the realm entrances in the sky above Sky-bearing City. Figures flew out of those realm entrances and glared angrily at the spirit race clansmen. The soul of the cursed progenitor lost control of Sky-bearing City when he was assimilated into the soul-suppressing orb. The realm entrances of Sky-bearing City could connect with the outside. The Qin family experts waiting urgently outside the city returned immediately. Qinlai looked up and found of the experts that returned, 2 possessed 8-level soul altars, and 3 were unknown foreign race clansmen with rank 10 bloodlines. How is it? In the direction of the Qin family hall, Skymender Palace's Hua Tianxiong, Jidan, and the others came through the teleportation formation. Do not let them leave, Qin Shan said gravely. Narration, open the door. The Soul Race clansmen Malcolm and Latif immediately wanted to retreat when they noticed that things had taken a wrong turn. The cursed progenitor was currently shackled by the soul-suppressing orb, so Sky-bearing City had temporarily lost its artifact soul. However, it was still unlikely that they could escape the grasp of experts such as the Ice Emperor, the Flame Emperor, Jidan, Hua Tianxiong, and other Genesis Realm experts on their own. That was why they had put their hopes onto Narration, a bloodline expert who was well-versed in the secrets of space. Narration was a rank 10 bloodline expert with bloodline attributes of life and space. He could enter and exit any space at any time. Everyone in the entire galaxy knew that those with mastery over space were the hardest enemies to kill once and for all. The only way to stop an expert with mastery over space was to be an expert of the same field with mastery equal or above. Let's go. Narration reluctantly walked out of a strange-looking layered space upon being urged by the 2 princes. It was as if the area he was in had transformed into another world entirely. It looked like a vertical mirror hovering in the air. A dazzling white light shone from inside the mirror onto the Sartorius family members. Those spirit race clansmen who were still alive were absorbed into the mirror in just the blink of an eye. Latif and Malcolm didn't even bother waiting for the mirror's light to reach them. They had jumped into the mirror on their own. In just 5 seconds, the bright mirror had gathered every surviving member of the Sartorius family, and the two soul race clansmen. The mirror looked like Narsen's rank 10 bloodline ability. It was an ability that allowed him to carve out a unique world in space. This world wasn't part of the sky of Sky-bearing City. It wasn't even part of Spirit Realm itself. Shred! A narrow but long spatial rift slowly appeared behind the mirror-like space. The Ice Emperor, the Flame Emperor, Jidan, Hua Tianxiong, and all other peak experts tried to use their soul altars and their learned truths of power to stop that spatial rift from appearing. They knew full well that they would fail to capture their enemies if they allowed them to escape through that fresh spatial rift. They were even firing divine-grade artifacts and utilizing their most advanced comprehended laws as well. Unfortunately, that slowly widening gap in space didn't seem to be affected by their power. In fact, it had swallowed every burst of power like it was nothing. No one knew where the spatial rift was leading to. All they could see was strange, flowing light slipping out of the spatial rift occasionally while carrying a desolate, icy and lifeless presence inside. Quickly, urged Malcolm. Inside the mirror world, Narsen nodded once, shot the denizens of Spirit Realm a sinister glare before trying to leave. Every martial practitioner who had rushed to Sky-bearing City felt disheartened and powerless. Their power was clearly above Narsen's group. They clearly had the ability to kill all these invaders. However, no one here had the same level of mastery of space as Narsen. Moreover, the only person who could control the space of Sky-bearing City, the cursed progenitor, was a traitor. That was why they had no choice but to watch the culprits who caused havoc in Spirit Realm and Sky-bearing City escape in leisure. The setback was a disappointment for everyone. Narsen moved his mirror slowly towards the world behind the spatial rift. It looked like nothing could stop him from escaping to his destination. Swoosh! Suddenly, a dazzling light beam flew right out of the spatial rift. The light beam twisted and jumped erratically as if it was imbued with infinite power in just an instant. The light beam transformed into a huge, blurry shadow that seemed to be blocking the way to the spatial rift. Narsen's mirror was stopped in its tracks just before it would enter the spatial rift. Every expert in the Sky-bearing City could see the confusion on Narsen's face. However, his confusion lasted for only an instant before it transformed into panic and worry. It was almost as if he just realized what, or who was standing before his way. Crack! The independent space he had created using his rank 10 bloodline power. The special ability and power that was unique only to a spirit race clansman with space attribute bloodline suddenly shattered into pieces. The loss of the mirror caused every Sartorius family member to panic in fear. Malcolm and Latif's soul trees were also swaying wildly. It looked like they were arguing about something with Narsen. What's going on? What happened? Inside the Sky-bearing City, the Ice Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and Genesis Realm experts stared at the unexpected scene inside the spatial rift in astonishment. Although they couldn't hear what Narsen, Malcolm, and Latif were screaming and arguing about, they could all see from their expressions that they were afraid. Things took another turn after just 3 to 5 seconds later. Narsen, Malcolm, and Latif suddenly started begging at that tall, imposing shadow about something. Even Qianlai could see that Narsen was bowing and nodding, as if he was making some sort of promises, while Latif and Malcolm were seemingly swearing a solemn oath using a soul race secret art. Who's that shadow? Hua Tianxiong asked with a weird look on his face. It can't be Great Sage Tianqi of the Spirit Race, can it? Can't be. The reason Narsen was able to come to Spirit Realm and order the cursed progenitor around is all because of Great Sage Tianqi. There's no reason for him to treat Narsen like this. The Flame Emperor muttered to himself. Suddenly, a bloody flash of light came from inside Narsen and the Sartorius family members' eyes. An instant later, Narsen and the Sartorius family members suddenly exploded into pieces and died on the spot. Every Sartorius family member led by Narsen had died at this moment. The two soul race princes struggled fiercely as they tried to escape to the outer realms. However, their soul trees suddenly shrank as if they were compressed by some sort of unknown power. A moment later, they had become two tiny, black soul orbs. The two soul orbs was only the size of a walnut. They were shiny and pitch black. Whoosh! Surprisingly, The two soul orbs flew out of the spatial rift and towards Qin Lai almost as if they had a mind of their own. The soul-suppressing orb swallowed the two soul orbs before Qin Lai could even muster a reaction. The young man probed the interior of the soul-suppressing orb and discovered Latif and Malcolm's souls as he expected. Confused and puzzled by the sudden turn of events, Qin Lai looked up towards the spatial rift. The tall, blurry shadow made of light seemed to be looking at him as well. After that, the spatial rift Narration had torn open suddenly healed and vanished completely. The sky of the sky-bearing city returned to normal, and it was almost as if nothing had happened a moment ago. Everyone knew that Narration, for all his mastery in space, had failed to escape the sky-bearing city with his clansmen. Narration, Boggett, and the Sartorius family members had all been killed by a third party. Even the two soul race clansmen hadn't been able to escape a gruesome fate. They had been compressed into tiny balls and absorbed by Qin Lai's soul-suppressing orb. Grandpa, who is that person? Qin Lai caressed the soul-suppressing orb before allowing it to return to his glabella. He looked to be at a loss for words. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor had also returned to the ground to look at Qin Shan for answers. To their knowledge, the number of people who could suppress and kill Narration of the Sartorius family could probably be counted on two hands. This was without mentioning that Narson's strength was considered to be top 5 in the entire spirit race. However, even someone like Narration had been killed by a third party inside a spatial rift of his own making. It was news that could silence any expert in the galaxy. Even the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor couldn't quite imagine that someone this powerful could exist in the world. He gave you the two princes' soul orbs. That makes his identity pretty clear, don't you think? At least Qin Shan didn't look shaken by the incident. Didn't he send you the ancient life tree not long ago? Qin Lai shook. The Ice Emperor had realized the answer as well. It was him? You mean to say that that was him, one of the 3 blood and soul mentors? The Flame Emperor's expression changed. Qin Lai asked suddenly, "You've all come into contact with him 20,000 years ago, haven't you? Didn't you unite the 100 races and chased him, the Blaze family, and the Darkness family out of Spirit Realm back then? How well do you know him?" Chased him out of Spirit Realm? The Ice Emperor smiled bitterly before replying, "In my opinion, the 100 races weren't the real reason he was forced out of Spirit Realm at all. It was because he had killed too many talented God race youths for his mad plan without the results to show, drawing the ire of everyone in the God race. The elders in the God race are the ones who chased him out of Spirit Realm because they believed that his plan was folly and a complete failure, not us. In fact, we had never truly fought him in battle." The Flame Emperor sighed. "You've never truly fought him before?" This time, Qin Lai wasn't the only one who was shocked. Even Qin Shan was staring at them in astonishment. The 3 emperors of the human race were the central pillars of the 100 races united forces 20 millennia ago. Therefore, it made no sense that the 3 strongest experts of the human race, the 3 emperors, had never fought against Lian Yuan before. "I heard that he was the one who covered the God race's retreat with the evil dragon race and his martial practitioners." Qin Lai hesitated for a moment before asking. After that, the Blaze and Darkness families successfully retreated from Spirit Realm, while he and his evil dragons had vanished without a trace. What on Spirit Realm happened back then? This was one of the most widespread legends in Spirit Realm. It was said that the 3 emperors of the human race and a couple of powerful ancient race experts had perished alongside their enemies while they were pursuing the God race through the galaxy. It was why the 100 races respected the 3 emperors of the human race and those few ancient race experts who had taken part in the chase as highly as they were. "What happened, you say?" The Flame Emperor clearly looked a little embarrassed. He shot the Ice Emperor a glance, obviously signaling the Ice Emperor to take the baton. "Get out of our sight, the lot of you." Qin Shan snorted at the surrounding people. Qin Yun, Qin Yi, Gone Faping, and a couple more people had moved closer in an attempt to eavesdrop on the gossip. Qin Shan realized from the Flame Emperor's embarrassment that the tale probably wasn't a glorious one. So he wisely chased away the onlookers to save face for the Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor. Gone Faping and the others rubbed their noses or smiled awkwardly. Then they left the group alone. Even Qin Yun and Qin Yi had flown away in silence. Now Qin Lai, Qin Shan, the Ice Emperor, and the Flame Emperor were the only ones who were left. Frankly, we got lost inside a multi-layered spatial illusory realm while we were pursuing him, said the Ice Emperor before pausing for a moment to gather his thoughts. Then, he continued, he was the Blaze family's patriarch, but he seemed to be incredibly well-versed in the power of space. He was probably the reason why we had fallen into a spatial whirlpool. After that, the three of us got separated from the rest of the experts. It took us a long time before we finally managed to exit that spatial whirlpool. By the time we came out, we discovered that we weren't in spirit realm any longer. Somehow, we had been teleported into an unknown space in the outer realms. We took our time to recover our strength in that outer realm. A long time later, we finally found our way back to spirit realm. Not only did we fail to catch even his shadow, we were almost lost inside that spatial whirlpool forever because of him. The Ice Emperor smiled bitterly after he had finished his tale. The Flame Emperor sighed. That is why we know nothing about him. We knew nothing about his strength or where he had gone to after he threw us off. Qin Lai was dumbfounded at this. So you really have nothing on him at all? The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor nodded in unison. Whoosh! Hua Tianqiong and Ji Dan chose this moment to return to them after completing their patrol around the entire city and finding nothing amiss. So, that spirit race clansman is gone just like that? Hua Tianqiong asked in puzzlement. Who was that shadow in that spatial rift just now? Ji Dan asked. It's that guy who had ruled over spirit realm for tens of millennia, said Qin Shan. It was him? Ji Dan's expression changed before he turned to stare at Qin Lai. Are those orbs really the two soul race princes? He gave them to you. Latif and Malcolm were definitely inside those soul orbs, replied Qin Lai. But why would he give them to you? Ji Dan asked in puzzlement. Qin Lai hesitated for a moment before answering. I don't have an answer myself. There were very few people who knew about his relationship with that person. He didn't want to elaborate on it if possible. Speaking of which, what the hell is wrong with the cursed progenitor? Hua Tianqiong suddenly spoke up. Everyone's expressions became burdened with emotion when they heard this. The cursed progenitor was definitely a mood-souring topic. We ourselves couldn't believe that he, a human, would choose to submit to a spirit race clansman. The Ice Emperor stared at Qin Lai gravely before asking, Can you try to find out if he's the reason the Thunder Emperor hasn't returned to spirit realm yet? What happened to the Thunder Emperor? Qin Shan asked in confusion. The Ice Emperor replied, The cursed progenitor is the one who arranged the Thunder Emperor's return journey to spirit realm. If everything had gone normally, the Thunder Emperor should have been back a long time ago. Qin Shan was shocked. I will do my best to dig the truth out of him, promised Qin Lai. Qin Shan, what will happen to Sky-bearing City now that we had lost the cursed progenitor? Ji Dan asked. I will arrange a new artifact soul for Sky-bearing City, promised Qin Shan. Please be quick. I have a feeling that those God Race clansmen who are currently holed up in Shattered Ice Realm will be showing their faces very soon, said Ji Dan worriedly. Qin Shan grunted in acknowledgement. Amen. The Ice Emperor looked at Qin Lai and said, You don't need to bother with these things for now. Just focus on dealing with the cursed progenitor as quick as you can. I understand. Without wasting any more time, Qin Lai and his soul tree subsoul immediately took off towards the distance. He flew straight toward the Qin family's great hall. A while later, his true self and his subsoul had arrived at the dark hall where his avatar usually waited. A new star door was formed afterward. The Genesis Realm martial practitioners of the Skymender Palace and the G family could be seen on the other side of the star door. They were currently camping outside Heavenly Een Valley. The three giant soul beast avatars were also scattered around Heavenly Een Valley. Each one of the soul beasts represented one of Qin Lai's subsoul. His rank 10 subsoul passed through the star door into the Heavenly Een Valley and merged with the Dark Soul Beast's body. The Dark Soul Beast stood up and stared at the other two soulless soul beasts. Then he stared at the dried pond and empty hole that led straight to the profound Nether Sea. The Dark Soul Beast said, You guys can return to Sky-bearing City now. I alone will suffice here. The Sky Mender Palace and the Ji family's martial practitioners stared at him blankly, unable to understand his words immediately. Thankfully, Ji Yao was present, and he was aware of the Dark Soul Beast's true identity. He hurriedly said, "Is Sky-bearing City safe now?" Qin Lai replied, "Amen. Sky-bearing City is safe now." Ji Yao let out a sigh of relief before he persuaded the rest of the Ji family and Sky Mender Palace martial practitioners to leave Heavenly Yin Valley with him. In the end, his Dark Soul Beast avatar and the soulless soul beasts of Latif and Malcolm were the only ones left in the entire Heavenly Yin Valley. Right now, his Blood Soul Beast avatar was still evolving toward rank 10 soul line at Giant Spirit Realm. Meanwhile, his true self was gathering his soul consciousness and attempting to communicate with the cursed progenitor's soul at Sky-bearing City. He had no idea that Han Che and Lian Zhao had just left Shattered Ice Realm with a group of God Race experts. Han Che and Lian Zhao were patriarchs of the Profound Ice family and the Blaze family respectively. However, they didn't act rashly after they had returned to Shattered Ice Realm. For a long time, they did nothing but wait until Narson and his Sartorius family members had all been killed, and Latif and Malcolm had been captured by the soul-suppressing orb. Now that these obstacles were gone, they took action. Inside the fourth layer of the soul-suppressing orb, the 6 spirits of void and chaos were lying quietly in hibernation. It had been a long time since they had last come out to feed. Many translucent bubbles filled the inside of this space. Every bubble looked like an independent realm that contained a mysterious ancient spirit diagram. Qin Lai's soul consciousness took on the shape of a shadow as he appeared inside this space slowly. Malcolm and Latif's souls had been refined into 2 soul orbs. Right now, they were floating inside this space like 2 gray stars. They were completely still. On the other hand, the cursed progenitor's soul clearly had thought and consciousness even though it was also gray-dark in color. Bits of soul tendrils was flying out of the ball of light that was the cursed progenitor's soul before disappearing into nothing. The cursed progenitor was losing soul energy at a rapid pace. Qin Lai's soul shadow stared at the cursed progenitor's soul. Soon, he discovered that all that was left inside the ball of light was pure memories. Even the cursed progenitor's consciousness seemed to be fading into the space around it as his soul energy grew weaker and weaker. An idea entered Qin Lai's mind, and he sent a soul beam into the cursed progenitor's soul. In an instant, countless memories surged towards Qin Lai's in the form of images. It was as if his soul was swimming inside the cursed progenitor's memories and experiencing everything the cursed progenitor had experienced. He saw the cursed progenitor crouching beneath an ancient tree and studying the patterns of a tree leaf since young. The study would last an entire day. Sometimes, the cursed progenitor would draw the patterns of the tree leaves on the ground using a turtle's shell. The cursed progenitor studied the patterns on his palm and carved them carefully inside a book. The cursed progenitor loved every pattern of nature since young, and he could often watch them for days and know not a moment's rest. One day, the cursed progenitor obtained an ancient-looking turtle shell and drew its patterns onto his own arm. He suddenly discovered that the mysterious patterns was drawing spirit energy from the world and into his body. Since then, he had learned how to cultivate and opened a whole new chapter in his life. The images appeared clearly inside Qin Lai's head as he surfed through the memories. The cursed progenitor was able to master the truth of power and secret curses thanks to this natural pattern. From that point onward, he had embarked on the journey of cultivation. All of his memories, his arduous journey to become the cursed progenitor, his experience of becoming one of the 5 progenitors of the human race alongside the blood progenitor, the voodoo progenitor, and the corpse progenitor, his cooperation with the soul progenitor to seal the abyss channel at the bottom of the sea of the land of chaos, were open to Qin Lai. Qin Lai felt like he was living the cursed progenitor's whole life. The memories finally stopped at Sky-bearing City. Swoosh! Qin Lai withdrew the soul thread that was connected to the cursed progenitor's soul while feeling surprised. After reading through all of the cursed progenitor's memories, he knew that the cursed progenitor had purposely led the Thunder Emperor to the dark shadow world to trap him there. However, he couldn't find any memory that was related to great sage Tianqi of the spirit race. It was almost as if the cursed progenitor had never known or interacted with great sage Xianxia at all. However, the cursed progenitor himself had revealed that he shared a close relationship with great sage Xianxia. It was why he had decided to abandon the human race in the first place. Amazing! He could wipe out all the memories regarding him from the cursed progenitor's soul. Qianlai spent some time to ruminate things and slowly came to a conclusion. He knew that great sage Xianxia must have used some sort of method he couldn't fathom to wipe out part of the cursed progenitor's memories at an unknown point of time. The fact that there was not a single record relating to great sage Xianxia in the cursed progenitor's memories proved that the former must have been the culprit behind the memory wipe. After roaming inside the cursed progenitor's memories for a moment, he looked at the ball of dark light that was the cursed progenitor once more. The only thing left inside the ball of light was the cursed progenitor's memories. Even his consciousness and willpower were slowly but surely being refined by the soul-suppressing orb. Qianlai had a feeling that he could wipe out the cursed progenitor completely if he was willing to put in a bit of effort. That way, the cursed progenitor would be completely dead. Not a single bit of him would be left in this world. He hesitated for a moment. If great sage Xianxia can wipe out part of your soul memories, then he could have done something else to your soul as well. Even if I were to find a successor for you, there is still a chance that that successor might become compromised because he inherited your powers. Therefore, the only thing I can do is to eliminate your soul entirely. He had made up his mind. Bang! The cursed progenitor final imprints of memories exploded inside the soul-suppressing orb and vanished into nothing. From this day onward, the cursed progenitor was completely dead. Great sage Xianxia wouldn't be able to manipulate him any longer even if he still had the cursed progenitor's body. Qianlai switched his attention onto Malcolm and Latif. The two soul race princes' souls were still floating inside the fourth space of the soul-suppressing orb like two darkened stars. Wisps of soul light were escaping the soul orbs and became absorbed by the soul-suppressing orb. When Qianlai tried to invade their souls, he discovered that he was blocked by something. Then, he noticed a strange shell outside Malcolm and Latif's souls. The gray-brown colored shell was covered in mysterious soul race patterns. It completely surrounded Malcolm and Latif's soul origins. This meant that Malcolm and Latif's soul energies were absorbed by the soul-suppressing orb, but the consciousness, thought, and memories that formed the core of their soul origin were completely unaffected. Right now, Malcolm and Latif's souls were like two walnuts. Their thoughts, consciousness, and memories sat at the center, while a tough shell shielded them from any outside forces. Thanks to this shell, Qianlai was unable to invade into their souls. Not even the soul-suppressing orb had the power to refine and kill them completely. Qianlai had refined the Dark Soul Beast and Blood Soul Beast before. He knew that Kadak and Mayo were soul race clansmen as well. However, he had not seen that resembled a shell inside their souls. He started sifting through the soul beast's memories for an answer. A while later, he discovered the truth of the shell from the soul progenitor's fragmented memories. Malcolm and Latif were descended from the Imperial Soul Monarch's soul line. They were different from other soul race clansmen. As the descendants of the Imperial Soul Monarch, they were granted this shell since the moment their soul was fully formed. It was the protection the Imperial Soul Monarch had afforded them. The shell protected their soul origin and made them very hard to kill permanently. While sifting through the soul progenitor's fragmented memories, he also learned that there was only a handful of people or objects that could destroy the soul shell the Imperial Soul Monarch had left inside his descendants' souls. The reason the soul progenitor, also a descendant of the Imperial Soul Monarch, had lost his soul shell was because he had discarded it of his own accord to merge with the ancestor of the Qin family, Qin Tian. However, he had failed to wipe out Qin Tian's consciousness or soul thought completely. In fact, he had even suffered a rebound because of his failure. In the end, something happened and Qin Tian eventually took him over instead. I may not be able to break open their shell, but their soul energy has been completely drained, and they are stuck inside the soul-suppressing orb. They shouldn't be able to cause trouble any longer. After hesitating for a moment and discovering that he had no way to end Malcolm and Latif's life permanently, Qianlai had no choice but to leave them in anger and disappointment. He wondered if the soul-suppressing orb could grow powerful enough to break apart that soul shell if it was able to absorb more soul energy. His soul consciousness returned back to his body. Qianlai walked out of the dark hall, and the Ice Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and Qianlai's grandfather, Qin Shan, walked up to him immediately after sensing his presence. "How is the Thunder Emperor?" the Flame Emperor asked urgently. The cursed progenitor had set him up. Qianlai let out a sigh before replying. He was led to the dark shadow world. The Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor's expressions changed immediately. For thousands of millennia, the legend of the dark shadow world had been told in spirit realm. Countless peak experts who thought themselves to be invincible had tried to explore the ultimate world there was to explore, the dark shadow world. However, none of these experts had ever returned from their journey. In the history of the entire spirit realm, there was only one person who had ever went in and out of the dark shadow world alive: Qin Hao. Where is Qin Hao? How long will it take him to return to Sky-bearing City? The Ice Emperor asked immediately. That's right. Qin Hao has gone to the dark shadow world before. He may be able to help the Thunder Emperor, the Flame Emperor said spiritedly. But Qin Shan gave them a bitter smile and said, "He won't be making a return anytime soon." "Why's that?" the Ice Emperor frowned. Qin Shan answered, "He's probably refining Despair Devil King's heart right now." "What?" the Flame Emperor was shocked. "He actually killed the Despair Devil King?" The Ice Emperor's expression changed a little too. "What about the Terror Devil King then?" "I'm not sure. I think he had concealed himself after escaping from Qin Hao." Qin Shan was clearly surprised by this news himself. "Not even I know where Qin Hao is right now. The last news I got from him was that he will be taking some time to refine Despair Devil King's heart." Qianlai was shocked to hear what the Flame Emperor, the Ice Emperor, and his grandfather Qin Shan had to say. He was clear on just how powerful a rank 10 Abyss Devil was, and this was without mentioning that Terror Devil King and Despair Devil King were the first and second strongest Abyss Devils of the Chaos Abyss. Terror Devil King especially was a true ruler of a powerful Abyss level, just like Dawson. At this level, an Abyss Devil wasn't inferior to any rank 10 God Race warrior in the slightest. Another comparison to make would be a rank 10 God Race Bloodline warrior was almost the equivalent of 5 rank 10 Spirit Realm denizens. But somehow, not only did Qin Hao manage to force Terror Devil King into hiding, he had even killed Despair Devil King despite fighting both of them at the same time. This power. The Qin family is truly amazing. The Ice Emperor gave Qin Shan a deep look while praising from the bottom of his heart. The fact that the rank 10 demon god Ming Xiao could fight toe-to-toe with Narration of the Spirit Race means that he was as strong as a rank 10 Abyss Devil already. But who knew that Qin Hao would be even stronger than him? I still can't believe that he was able to force Terror Devil King into hiding and kill Despair Devil King completely. It seems like Ninth Heaven's decision to back out from Spirit Realm was a most wise decision, added the Flame Emperor. Ninth Heaven is backing out? Qianlai exclaimed. When his soul was analyzing the cursed progenitor's memories inside the soul-suppressing orb, he had reached a state of absolute concentration. Therefore, he had no idea what was happening outside until just now. "It had been a few days since you went to refine the cursed progenitor's memories," said Qin Shan while smiling. "Pei Dehong and the others are aware that you have sealed away Latif and Malcolm's souls. They also know that we have a Ming Xiao on our side. Their forces were largely diminished because of the 2 Soul Race clansmen's machinations, and they simply don't have the power to fight us any longer. That is why Pei Dehong had left Spirit Realm with the remaining forces of Ninth Heaven and gone to the Outer Realms to cultivate. The other 5 of the 6 great forces had promised to return all of the territories they had claimed in the past. For example, the Ji family and the Skymender Palace have already gotten back their territories. The fact that Ninth Heaven had backed out of Spirit Realm meant that they had admitted defeat. From here on, they're no longer a force to be reckoned with. The Ice Emperor also said, "For now, this is the last big upheaval that will happen to the human race." Qianlai was surprised to hear all this. He had no idea that he had lingered inside the soul-suppressing orb for several days. One of his avatars was currently at Heavenly Een Valley, and the other at Giant Spirit Realm. None of them had a clue what was going on outside either. In just a few days' time, Ninth Heaven had fulfilled their promise and backed out of Spirit Realm with whatever forces they had left. According to the promise, the Ninth Heaven martial practitioners led by Pei Dehong weren't allowed to return to Spirit Realm for 300 years. Perhaps the reason that Pei Dehong had left so hurriedly was because he was worried that the Qin family would find an opportunity to take revenge against them. Judging from the level of strength displayed by the Qin family, it wouldn't be difficult for them to hunt down Ninth Heaven to the last man. The remaining 5 great forces had suffered massive losses due to Latif and Malcolm as well. Many of their vassal forces had left because of their failure to protect them. They also knew that they lacked the power to fight against the Qin family, Skymender Palace, and the Ji family after the bloody baptism that was the 2 Soul Race clansmen. This was without mentioning that the Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor were firmly on the Sky-bearing city's side. That was why they had admitted defeat. They were also willing to fulfill all the conditions that had been discussed earlier. Every human martial practitioner and force in Spirit Realm and Outer Realm foreigner was made aware that Sky-bearing City had obtained a decisive victory after Ninth Heaven had left, and the 5 great forces had surrendered. At almost the same time, the Ancient Beast race at the Ancient Beast Realm, the Giant race at the Giant Spirit Realm, the Sea race, and the Black Jail race had declared to the world that Sky-bearing City was their eternal ally. The Sea race, Qin Lai was caught off guard by one of the races in this statement. The Sea race had made a declaration as well? Qin Shan's eyes glinted once before explaining. The Sea race was defeated by the evil dragons, losing 3 out of 5 Sea Kings in the process. Right now, Sea King Pina is the ruler of the Sea race. Realization abruptly struck Qin Lai. At Baluo Realm, Vanessa and Haley had begged him to aid the Sea race. At the time, Li Xian, the self-proclaimed Blood Emperor, had suddenly shown up and sworn loyalty to him as well. Now he remembered that he had given Li Xian an order to that effect. The original goal of that order was to test the Blood Emperor and the evil dragon's loyalty. After all, he wasn't sure if Li Xian and the evil dragons would listen to his order. Today, Pina had become the ruler of the Sea race, and the Sea race had declared themselves to be the eternal ally of the Sky-bearing City. This meant that Li Xian had executed his order exactly as he wanted. After that, the Ancient Beast race, the Giant race, the Sea race, the Black Jail race, and the Demon Dragon race had allied themselves with Sky-bearing City. The Qin family was now completely in charge of Spirit Realm's future. There were a lot of Outer Realm evil races who invaded Spirit Realm, weren't they? What happened to those invaders? Asked Qin Lai curiously. A fellow who called himself the Blood Emperor had killed or chased off those invaders with a horde of evil dragons, said the Ice Emperor with an odd look on his face. Almost all of the Outer Realm invaders had been killed or escaped. Maybe it was because they caught wind that even Narration and the 2 Soul Race princes had fallen in Sky-bearing City. Qin Shan said calmly, "For now, peace has finally returned to Spirit Realm." Not quite. The Ice Emperor shook his head before explaining. At Shattered Ice Realm, things are so quiet that it's almost abnormal. Moreover, that Blood Emperor fellow and those powerful evil dragons are still at Spirit Realm. Qin Lai's eyebrows twitched when he heard this. Narration, the Soul Race, the Night Ghosts, the Outer Realm invaders, the Blood Emperor, the evil dragons. Eventually, Qin Lai was able to connect the dots and realized what was going on. It had been a battle between Great Sage Tianqi and Lian Yuan. Narration, Malcolm, the Night Ghosts, and the Outer Realm invaders were all pawns Great Sage Tianqi had delivered to Spirit Realm. The Cursed Progenitor was one of his pawns as well. These people had all moved according to Great Sage Tianqi's instructions in order to obtain the geocentric motherlode and transform Spirit Realm into a deadland. However, Narration had been killed, and Malcolm and Latif had been sealed and delivered into Qin Lai's soul-suppressing orb by Lian Yuan while they were making an escape. At the same time, the forces led by the Blood Emperor and the evil dragons had taken out the Outer Realm foreigners such as the Night Ghosts one by one and forced them out of Spirit Realm. The 2 Blood and Soul mentors were clearly making a move against each other on the chessboard that was Spirit Realm. What now? What should we do? He frowned. The Ice Emperor replied in a heavy tone. The God Race clansmen at Shattered Ice Realm still haven't made a move yet, Our biggest worry lies there. Narration and the two soul race clansmen were ultimately just a small force. They were much, much weaker than the god race's full army. If their experts were to descend onto spirit realm one after another, The Flame Emperor sighed while shaking his head. Didn't we have another 2 years to prepare? Asked Xianxia. The Ice Emperor replied seriously, I don't know why, but I've been having a bad feeling as of late. I think they'll show up very, very soon. Father, Han Che has shown up at Azura Realm. It was at this moment Xianxia suddenly rushed in with an urgent report. Han Che. The Ice Emperor abruptly turned pale. Not long ago, Han Che had been left behind in the Abyss passageway because the Star Abyss was destroyed by Xianxia. He had no choice but to return to the god race. His appearance meant that he had returned to Spirit Realm once more. They're back, Xianxia said with a gloomy look. I doubt that the profound Ice family's patriarch is the only one who's going to make an appearance. There has to be experts from other god race families as well. Everyone inside the hall fell silent. They all had serious looks on their faces. The fact that Han Che had appeared at Azura Realm meant that the god race had found a new way to reach Spirit Realm. The 100 races of Spirit Realm had just dealt with Narration, not to mention that the 6 great forces had suffered tremendous losses in the process. The Giant race, the Wood race, the Wuxia race, and the Black Jail race had also lost a lot of clansmen because they were invaded by outer realm foreigners like the Night Ghosts. Frankly speaking, the power the races of Spirit Realm could muster right now was very limited. That was why it was a heavy blow to everyone to hear that the god race's main army had chosen this exact moment to mount an invasion. Why have they appeared at Azura Realm? Asked the Ice Emperor solemnly. Xianxia shook his head. He didn't know why himself. The Flame Emperor gave his thoughts after a moment of surprise. Didn't that guy who called himself the Blood Emperor just ravaged Azura Realm with the evil dragons? Then maybe the reason they head there is to speak with the evil dragons, guessed the Ice Emperor. He knew that the previous patriarch of the Blaze family, Lian Yuan, hadn't had any contact with the god race since he went missing 20 millennia ago. The evil dragons were Lian Yuan's loyal servants. They listened to Lian Yuan and Lian Yuan alone. Therefore, it was very likely that Han Che had gone to Azura Realm to seek counsel with the evil dragon race. But the Blood Emperor and the evil dragon race hadn't returned to Azura Realm after attacking the Sea race, said Xianxia with a frown. That's strange. Not even the Ice Emperor could figure out their motivations now. Father. Xianxia looked like he wanted to say something. He had been waiting for the Ice Emperor and Xianxia to come to a pause after reporting the urgent news. From time to time, he would even shoot Xianxia a strange look. Say your thoughts already, yelled Xianxia impatiently. The Cullen family at Azura Realm had asked us to bring a message to Little Lai. They wanted to invite him to Azura Realm, reported Xianxia. The Cullen family? His report surprised Xianxia for a second before the old artificer turned around to face Xianxia. I thought they were still staying in the Baluo realm not long ago. Do you know them? I do. They wanted to restore their family's former glory through the god race after hearing that they were soon to arrive. Before this, I had sent them to the Frost Desolation Abyss so that the other Azura race families of Azura Realm wouldn't find them, explained Xianxia. Why are they inviting you to Azura Realm? Asked Xianxia curiously. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor were surprised as well. If I'm not mistaken, they aren't the ones who are inviting me. They're simply acting as a message carrier for Han Che, said Xianxia with a sigh. Everyone's expressions changed drastically when they heard this. Not long ago, when I was at the Flaming Sun Abyss, the god race had sent someone to make dialogue with me. They had promised to give up on Spirit Realm if I'm willing to return with them to the god race's ancestral grounds. Xianxia was wearing a bitter smile on his face. My bloodline is a little special. In the eyes of the god race's elders, my bloodline is more important and precious than Spirit Realm itself. They are space conquerors after all. It's not like they haven't encountered and conquered a couple of supersized realms like Spirit Realm before. They believe that my existence is more beneficial to the god race than Spirit Realm itself. It's very possible that they will be willing to give up on Spirit Realm permanently if I promise to go with them. Qin Lai knew that Han Che's return was a signal that the 5 god race families must have found a quicker way to enter Spirit Realm. He also knew that it was almost a pipe dream to hope that Spirit Realm would be able to resist the god race with their current strength. That was why he had to inform everyone about the only way he thought could save Spirit Realm. The Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor immediately shot him odd looks after hearing his explanation. Qin Lai was more important to the god race than the entire Spirit Realm. It was a heavy blow to the Ice Emperor and the Flame Emperor, the sages of the human race. They were also assaulted by a sudden sense of bitter defeat. They had struggled hard to travel back from the distant realms and set Spirit Realm in fighting back against the invaders. However, their despair only grew after fighting against the invaders briefly. When they learned that the Thunder Emperor had become stuck in the Dark Shadow world, they felt even more helpless than ever before. They gradually realized that the option that they might not be able to change the destruction of Spirit Realm, no matter how hard they tried, was growing to become a very real possibility. In fact, they had even reached a point where all they asked for was a clear conscience. They would do everything they could to save Spirit Realm, but the outcome was simply beyond their control. And then all of a sudden, Qin Lai revealed that Spirit Realm's crisis could be resolved immediately if he agreed to return to the God Realm. The Ice Emperor started for a second before coming to a sudden stop. His lips trembled a little. For some reason, he was staring at Qin Lai like a grudgeful wife. "You're not actually thinking about sacrificing me, are you?" Qin Lai had a bad feeling about this. "I haven't even said anything yet." The Ice Emperor smiled awkwardly as he tried to hide his embarrassment. "As you can see, Narration of the Spirit Race and the 2 lousiest sons of the Imperial Soul Monarch were enough to cause havoc in Spirit Realm. The Night Ghosts were a small, insignificant force in the Outer Realms, but the giant race was taken down in a short time without being able to mount any resistance whatsoever. The Wood Race, the Black Jail Race, and the Wuxia Race had all faced a similar situation. If Lian Yuan had chosen to stay his hand, Narration and those 2 Soul Race princes could have escaped from right under our noses, and we wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Right now, the 100 races of Spirit Realm are simply too weak compared to these monsters. Frankly speaking, not even the 3 of us are confident that we'll be able to save Spirit Realm this time." The Flame Emperor chose this moment to inject his opinion. "You said it yourself that you are incredibly important to them. Surely they wouldn't harm you, would they? They could keep me inside a cage, extract my flesh, and let my blood out for experiments all day, you know?" said Qin Lai while pulling a long face. "You don't have to go if you don't want to." Qin Shan let out a cold snort. "Worst comes to worst, we can just give up on Spirit Realm. It's not like we, the Qin family, don't own some private realms in the Outer Realms. Maybe the other races and forces of Spirit Realm can only flourish in Spirit Realm, but the Qin family has stepped into the Outer Realms a long time ago. Losing Spirit Realm wouldn't be a terrible blow to us." The Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor fell silent after hearing this. In reality, they all knew that they weren't in a position to force Qin Lai to do anything. They were also gradually learning that the Qin family was hiding a lot of secrets just from Qin Hao's strength and Ming Zhao's existence. That was why they believed what Qin Shan said to be true. The Qin family could flourish throughout the galaxy even if they left Spirit Realm. However, just because the Qin family had the ability to flourish in the Outer Realms, it didn't mean that the other forces and families of Spirit Realm could do the same. It didn't mean that the foreigners who lived in Spirit Realm could survive in the Outer Realms after the death of Spirit Realm either. At Azura Realm, standing in front of the door of a huge, ancient-looking building, Han Che was frowning at a respectful-looking Carrie and asking, "Has there been any reply from Qin Lai?" Carrie kept his back bowed as he shook his head. "No, not yet." Han Che pondered for a moment before beckoning for Carrie to leave. The rank 10 warrior of the Profound Ice family, Bing Hui, appeared like an icy illusion immediately after Carrie had left the scene. "Tell them to put some pressure onto the denizens of Spirit Realm. We will force Qin Lai into making a decision as soon as possible," instructed Han Che. "Understood." Bing Hui's figure vanished just as he appeared in full. Ancient Beast Realm. 3 black, sinister-looking ships that looked like giant space monsters suddenly pierced through the Ancient Beast Realm's spatial crystal barrier and appeared in the sky. 6 rank 10 Bloodline warriors and hundreds of rank 9 and rank 8 Darkness family members then unleashed their Bloodline power and covered the entire ancient beast realm in infinite darkness. The entire realm was sealed off at the same time the darkness flooded over the ancient beast realm entirely. Every beast was quaking in fear. A couple of shadows landed on the lush forest and rushed straight toward Crimson Blood Ape King. 6 hours later, all 4 beast kings of the ancient beast race had been captured and trapped inside a cage of absolute darkness. At the same time, the wood race, the black jail race, and the sea race were suddenly invaded by the god race as well. These 3 races were even more helpless than the ancient beast race had been. They had all been captured and imprisoned in just 2 hours' time. That wasn't all. The Blaze family members led by Lian Zhao had also invaded the Qin family's Olden Warm realm in the Outer Realms. The Olden Warm realm had fallen instantly to the god race. The Qin family, Skymender Palace, and the Ji family's bases in the Outer Realms had all been invaded and conquered by the god race in just a short amount of time. Outside Spirit Realm, the realms of the Dragon race, the Azura race, the Ancient Beast race, the Wood race, the Sea race, the Black Jail race had a sudden change of a ruler.